Everyone to the fifth virtual council meeting hosted by Bassett Law District Council. Given the current challenging situation we all face following the outbreak of COVID-19, the law has been changed to allow councils to host virtual meetings rather than requiring councillors to be present in the committee chambers. When making a decision, these keep everyone safe by maintaining a social distance and allowing business to be conducted in an appropriate manner. It is very important that all councillors can hear each other, so I will invite members in alphabetical order to introduce themselves and in so doing test their broadband. Councillor J. Anderson.
Good evening, Chair. Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
Good evening and thank you. Councillor Barker, 5 minutes. It's on its way. Councillor H. Brand.
Present, Chair.
Councillor E. Brett.
Evening, Chair.
Evening. Councillor R. Carrington Wild.
Good evening, Chair. Present.
Thank you. Councillor D. Challoner.
Thank you, Chair. Present, loud and clear.
Thank you. Councillor M. R. Charlesworth.
Loud and clear. Present, Chair. Thank you.
Councillor G. Clarkson.
Good evening, Chair. Present.
Councillor A. Tate.
Good evening, Chair.
Evening. Councillor K. Duke.
Here, Chair.
Councillor T. Eaton.
Present, Chair. Thank you.
Councillor C. Entwistle.
Present, Chair.
Councillor J. Evans.
Here, Chair. Thank you.
Councillor S. Fielding.
Present, Chair.
Councillor G. Freeman. Councillor G. Freeman. Councillor K.
Good evening, Chair. Here.
Oh, thank you.
Present, Chair. Good evening.
No problem. Thank you. Councillor K. Greaves.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor S. Greaves.
Good evening, Chair.
Councillor S. Izzard.
Evening, Chair. Present.
Councillor, we have apologies from Councillor Jones. Councillor J. Lee.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor J. Naish.
Good evening, Chair.
Councillor J. Ogle. Councillor J. Ogle. Councillor G. Oxby.
Present, thank you.
Councillor D. Pidwell.
Good evening, Chair. Thank you.
Councillor J. Plevin.
Good evening, Chair. Here, thank you.
Councillor J. Potts. Councillor J. Potts.
Councillor Potts, can you unmute your microphone, please?
I've just done it. Present, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Potts. Councillor D. Presley.
Good evening, Chair. Thank you.
Councillor M. Quigley.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor A. Rowe.
Sorry, Chair. I'm sorry, Present, Chair. Do beg your pardon.
Councillor A. Richard.
Good evening, Chair.
Councillor M. Richardson.
Good evening, Chair. Present.
Councillor N. Sanders.
Good evening, Chair.
Good evening. Councillor J. Sanger.
Present, Chair.
Councillor B. Schuler.
Good evening, Chair.
Councillor S. Gotham.
Good evening, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor S. Shaw.
Here, Chair.
Thank you. I'll go back to Councillor J. Ogle because I believe you've joined the meeting, Councillor Ogle.
I have, Chairman. Thank you for that courtesy. I had difficulty getting in. I closed my computer down and started again, and I've managed to get with you.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Ogle. Councillor J. Shepherd.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor B. Soffit.
Good evening, Chair. Present.
Councillor H. Chamberlain Saville.
Present, Chair. Good evening.
Thank you. Councillor C. Tyndall.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor C. True.
Present, Chair. Good evening.
Thank you. Councillor M. Watson.
Present, Chair.
Sorry, I think I missed one out. Councillor R. Tomlinson. Councillor R. Tomlinson.
He's not yet in the meeting, Chair. We'll try and get him and any others.
Thank you. Councillor J. White.
Good evening, present, Chair.
Evening and thank you. And I am Councillor D. Merriweather and I am in attendance. Can I please ask everybody to put their mics on mute and only to unmute when they need to speak? Thank you. Right, I'll also introduce officers by doing a roll call. Neil Taylor, Chief Executive.
Good evening, everybody.
Okay. David Armiger, Assistant Chief Executive.
Good evening, Chair.
David Hill, Interim Director of Corporate Resources.
Good evening, Chair.
Steve Wormall, Council Solicitor.
Good evening, Chair.
Linda Daw, Committee Clerk.
Good evening, Chair.
And James Lavender, Meeting Facilitator.
Present, Chair.
Thank you very much. If during this meeting we lose connection and the meeting becomes inquirate or live streaming for public viewing fails, I shall adjourn the meeting for 5 minutes to allow connection to be re-established. Given this is a virtual meeting, there is no corporate responsibility to detail a fire procedure, as we ordinarily would. However, I would like to highlight that this committee is being live streamed on social media. So all participants, please be aware of your actions and take appropriate safety precautions from your place of live streaming. Can I please remind members again to switch off their microphones when not speaking. If a member wishes to speak on an item, please indicate in the chat facility and this will be monitored. Agenda item number 1 is apologies. Are there any apologies?
The only apologies I've received, Chair, are from Councillor Jones.
Thank you. Agenda item number 2 is to receive declarations of interest by members and officers. Are there any declarations of interest by members?
Yes, Chair, we've got a list I'll read through. Councillor Hazel Brand has declared a non-pecuniary interest in agenda item 7. She's a governor of the Doncaster and Bassetlaw Hospital Trust, and she declared a non-pecuniary interest in agenda item 10A as her husband is chair of the Retford Town Centre Neighbourhood Planning Group. Councillor Gary Clarkson declared a non-pecuniary interest in agenda item 10A. He's secretary of the Neighbourhood Forum Management Committee and Planning Group. Councillor Mark Watson declared a disclosable pecuniary interest In the motions, is an employee of Doncaster and Bassetlaw Hospital Trust. Councillor David Presley declared a non-pecuniary interest in the finance reports. He's a trustee of the Citizens Advice Bureau, who are a grant recipient. Councillor Maria Charlesworth declared a disclosable pecuniary interest in the motions, as she's employed also by Doncaster and Bassetlaw NHS Hospital Trust. Councillor Jim Anderson declared a non-pecuniary interest in agenda item 10A. He's a member of the Forum for the Retford Town Centre Neighbourhood Planning. Councillor Helen Tamlin-Saville has also declared a non-pecuniary interest in the same agenda item. For the same reason, she's also a member. Councillor Merriweather declared pecuniary interest in the two motions, as she's an employee of the Doncaster and Bassetlaw Hospitals NHS Trust. Councillor Schuler has declared a non-pecuniary interest in the motions at agenda item 7, as she's a governor of the Doncaster and Bassetlaw Hospitals NHS Trust. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest by officers?
No, Chair.
Chair, if I may, I did ask Stephen about mine. He's not read my interest out, which is a non-pecuniary in motions at 7 as an employee of the NHS.
Is it Councillor Quigley?
It is.
Yes, sorry, Councillor Quigley. So you obviously will be looking at motions 2 and 3 as well. Yes.
Sorry.
So you will have a problem with the two motions that are regarding the NHS, yes?
Yeah, just non-pecuniary. I don't actually work for the trust in question, but I do work for the NHS.
Right. So,
Chair, sorry, I think Councillor Shaw wishes to declare an interest as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Steve. Yes, I do. On both the Doncaster Trust, as I'm a governor, and I'm on the management team for the neighbourhood plan. I'm sorry about that. Thank you.
anyone else before we move on? I can now confirm that Councillor Bowker has joined the meeting. Right, agenda item number 3 is minutes, pages 5 to 16 in your agenda. There are 2 sets to approve. Firstly, the minutes of the meeting held on the 10th of December 2020, which is on pages 5 to 11. Does anyone wish to vote against these? Carried. Secondly, the minutes of the extraordinary meeting held on the 28th of January 2021, pages 3 to 16. Does anybody wish to vote against these? They're carried. Agenda item number 4 is communication. To receive such communications as the Chairman and the Chief Executive desire to lay before the Council. Myself, I would like to say good evening, everyone. Thank you once again for your professional approach to the present meeting situations due to COVID. I am honoured to give mine and the fellow chairperson vote of thanks to Ron Swallow, our civic chauffeur. I must also mention our deep sense of appreciation for Ron and all his hard work. Ron has taken care of us all by getting us where we needed to be. He has also offered his protection towards the chain of office at all times. Ron has never complained and has remained professional while carrying out his duty. He has befriended all of the past chairpersons with his witty humour and even had me laughing when he once unwittingly did a U-turn in an unsavoury area. Finally, I would like to take this opportunity to place on record our hearty thanks. I know his dedication and commitment will be missed, and whoever follows Ron will have big shoes to fill. So on behalf of all at the council, take care, Ron, and enjoy your retirement. Thank you. Chief Executive's communications, please.
Thank you, Chair. 3 items this evening. Community testing and the new Retford site. Around 1 in 3 people who have coronavirus do not have symptoms and can be spreading the virus without even knowing it. Partnership with the Department for Health and Social Care and Nottinghamshire County Council, Bassett Law has successfully launched 2 asymmetric testing sites in Worksop, which has helped Bassett Law residents who cannot work from home to get regular COVID testing so they can have confidence that they're not putting their family, loved ones or their colleagues at risk. New testing site will open on Monday the 8th of March and will be located in the Butter Market at Retford Town Hall. Second item concerns dog control order consultation. Council is currently consulting with residents on the existing Bassett Law-wide public spaces protection order that relates to dog fouling in areas where dogs should be kept on leads. As public spaces protection orders last for a maximum of 3 years, the council is now seeking the public's views on whether the order should be renewed for a further 3-year period, whether the areas of land covered or other requirements to the order should be amended. If you would like to take part in the consultation or direct your constituents to the online survey, please visit the environmental health section of the council's website. Consultation will end on the 22nd of March 2021. Lastly, new facilities in the council's workshop. Work to create a brand new amenities and refreshments building at the award-winning Catch Park in Worksop has now begun. Council-owned facility will include a refreshments kiosk, an outdoor seating, a changing places facility, a disabled toilet, a baby change and parent WC, in addition to the 4 self-contained unisex toilets. It will be situated opposite the splash pool within the area of the Sensory Garden. Improving the facilities at the Canch, which has achieved green flag status 7 years in a row, has been a high target for the council to meet over a number of years, and the project is expected to be completed by early September. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I would now like to hand over to the leader to update members on developments. Councillor Simon Green.
Thank you, Chair. I will be brief. I want to place on record my sincere thanks to everyone that has helped in the rollout of the vaccination across the district. There's been an army of volunteers that have been absolutely first rate, and let's not forget, and at the forefront of this programme has been our fantastic local NHS and primary care network. Without that network, we would not be so far advanced as where we are, and the rollout has been a great success and a fantastic example of what a local NHS focused on supporting and protecting the public can achieve in the face of this pandemic. So thank you, everyone. There's more to go, there's more work to do, and everyone will be working together. Chair, the Chief Executive commented about the investment into the Canch in Worksop. Just on that, I think it's worth reflecting the number of changing places facilities that are now being brought into Bassett Law to free up and make accessible our towns and our parks, and this is very much welcomed. No place should be inaccessible, and this is a most welcome investment indeed. Chair, I'll also wish at this point to place on record my thanks to officers and colleagues in Councillor White for being able to secure the government funding for the Skills Hub into Worksop Town Centre. This is a fantastic investment in skills, into future jobs, and the regeneration of Worksop Town Centre. And this is very much needed to support the local NHS, to support local employers, and this is very much looking to the future. And this investment is going to pay dividends in better skilled, better paid jobs for local people. And none of us should disregard or to rubbish such a fantastic achievement in our future. So thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Agenda item number 5 is questions by the public. There are no questions from members of the public. Agenda item number 6 is questions by members. 2 questions have been received from 1 member. I call upon Councillor Ant Cultate to read his first question.
Good evening. How much income does the Leadership of the Council foresee generated, as stated in the medium-term financial plan in 2021-22 onwards, from the S8 partnership and the Bears Hill developments? And can it be confirmed no council officer or member receives any additional benefit or expense from these companies? Thank you.
I call upon Councillor Joe White to respond.
Thank you. As members will be aware, the government has incrementally withdrawn the rate support grant, requiring councils to become self-sufficient and fund service provision through council tax, business rates and fees and charges. The withdrawal of financial support has created a funding gap of over £1 million that this authority has to find in the next financial year. Cutting service provision is not an option in Bassett law. The government has placed a strong emphasis on councils becoming commercial entities to raise revenue in new and innovative ways. Turning a public sector organisation around so that it becomes a profit-making body has not been an easy job. One of the hardest tasks has been to get our bank to recognise us as a commercial entity and adapt its services. In 2016, we set up Bursa Hill, a joint partnership with local builders, Woodheads, to build houses within the district. Its focus is on building houses that people want, working with and listening to local communities. Our first project is Madison Court in Harworth, with building work to begin very soon. This will include bungalows to meet local demand and also will include council properties. These will be properties of a standard and design that we will all be proud of. £200,000 worth of profits have been included in the budget for 2021-22 for the Harworth scheme, and this will increase as the site is built out. Bursa Hill is actively looking at other sites within the district, prioritising council or public sector owned land, and there's a strong commitment to work with neighbourhood plan organisations to help deliver their ambitions. We also established S80 partnerships to develop commercial activities that enhance our service provision. We are currently installing and monitoring CCTV across the district's industrial estates and providing and listening support services for people living in sheltered accommodation. Profits have already been used to enhance local provision and increase staff cover. Officers have submitted ideas and proposals, and we are currently predicting an income of £40,000 a year, and this has been included for the 5 years from 2021-22, making £200,000 in total over the life of the medium-term financial plan. I'm very happy to absolutely confirm that no officer or member of Bassett Law District Council receives an additional benefit or expense in relation to Bursa Hill or S80 partnership. Every one of us, whether we are elected or employed, do so because we have chosen to serve our residents. And this is why I'm here today. This is not about feathering a nest or shining our personal halos. The very worst thought of any of us can have is on personal financial gain or benefit. The Nolan principles of public life apply to us all and have to be our constant guide as elected and public servants. Thank you.
Do you have a supplementary question, Councillor Coltate?
No, thank you for the detailed reply.
Thank you. I call upon Councillor Coltate to read his second question.
What are Bassetlaw District Council's plans to ensure that our higher streets thrive economically once the current COVID restrictions are lifted?
I call upon Councillor Joe White to respond.
Thank you. As you will be aware, a great deal of work has been undertaken to support town centre businesses through the pandemic and to speedily distribute grants in line with the criteria set by central government. The Chancellor of the Exchequer has announced a continuation of support with more grants awarded yesterday, and again we will work as hard as we can to get them to the businesses in our town centre as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Local businesses have already thanked us for the speed in our response, and we have officers dedicated to this task. Looking forward, and in relation to the reopening of our high streets post-pandemic, the Council is already working on ambitious plans for both Worksop and Retford. A business neighbourhood plan is being developed for Retford in partnership with local businesses, and this will ensure the proposals are brought forward that take account of current issues, support future investment for the town, and most importantly, are locally focused and have the support of local businesses. We'll be voting on this tonight, and I trust every one of us will be able to give it our full support. Turning to Worksop, you'll be aware of current building work to convert Middletons into an enterprise centre. This is scheduled to open this autumn, bringing new life and footfall to the top of town, opening up opportunities for existing and new businesses. We will also have seen the recent announcement, as already mentioned, of the funding we have received for the Bridge Court proposals that the Council has developed with a range of partners, bringing a skills hub at a great gateway point in the town. As well as being a stimulus for change, bringing a new footfall to stimulate businesses and hospitality, it will also provide a significant boost for local people to get jobs in the health sector and beyond. We are also working on producing an ambitious master plan for the town centre, and this will act as a catalyst for the regeneration of the town, and I would encourage all members to read these proposals. It's facilitating a vision for the future that improves connectivity, builds strong links to our green spaces, and makes the town centre a place that people want to come, not just for shopping, but for leisure, entertaining and relaxing. It is important, however, to be aware that not all the keys to revitalising the town centres are in the hands of the council. For example, our joint bids into the Stronger Towns Fund and Future High Streets Fund that contained ambitions to make the much needed step changes in Worksop were refused by government. Surprisingly, our refusal went hand in hand with a healthy grant being awarded to the rich, bustling market town of nearby Newark in the constituency where you live, Councillor Coltate. The wider controversies of this are still being debated, but certainly having the Secretary of State for local government as your MP does make a difference. Sadly, after my husband stepped down, we no longer have anyone to do the strong arm wrestling that we so desperately need in Bassetlaw. Additionally, the government's proposals to change permitted development rights to allow shops to be converted to residential use without planning permission is another factor. While this may be a positive step in wealthy areas, in places like Worksop, where land values are low, this is likely to lead to a reinforcement of the cycle of decline, and we'd ask the government to think again about these proposals for areas like this. Let's cut the risk of HMOs and push for high quality homes that people want to live in. Finally, the floods of 2019 also created their toll on the future security of Worksop Town Centre. We have an urgent need for flood alleviation schemes, and these ambitions are being contained within the master plan, but these will require central government funding. And whilst we We have made our funding available for a scheme in Retford since 2017. There's still no sign of the central government funding required to deliver this project. Let us hope that the same is not the case for the much needed flood improvement works in the centre of Worksop. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor White. Do you have a supplementary question, Councillor Culthait?
Yeah, thank you. As somebody who's asking a question about Bassett Law's high streets, I would. My concern is, and I thank you for the detailed answer, quite a strategic answer, and I accept that. But after initial rush, when COVID restrictions end, many people are going to be glad to leave the house. And after that initial rush, I fear many people have become accustomed to other retail experiences, such as online shopping, and that can be even, not necessarily Amazon things, won't return to the high streets in the medium and long term. Therefore, can the council look at ensuring that we're looking at best practice wherever that may lie in the country to ensure that our retail and business experience is as user-friendly and customer-focused as possible?
Thank you. I call upon Councillor White to respond.
Thank you for your second question. Yes, you're right. We do face a difficult time ahead of us. I think some of the well-known high street brands such as Burton's and Dorothy Perkins will never be seen again. So we have to change our high street so that it becomes more attractive to perhaps the independents. We need to encourage local businesses to set up. We need to look at how the market can change so that people can actually come in and trial their goods. And as a consequence of the pandemic, more people are shopping locally. They don't want to travel far anymore. And I think hopefully those habits will become more fixed and people will want to use the high street more. We have to, and you're right, we have to look at what other areas are doing and follow best practice. We don't have the oracle. We don't have all the answers. But what we do have to do is change. And what we do have to do is make our high streets safe and pleasant and places where people want to come. I think the master plan is working to address those issues. It will take finances, of course, and government support from that. But there's also smaller things that we can do to change the way we operate. Within Retford, of course, we have the business plan, we have the neighbourhood plan, which will also be addressing those issues. And of course, during the pandemic period, we introduced safe practices, the way that people walk through the town centre, encouraging people not to group together. And I think those practices and that support of people coming into town will have to continue for the short term. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 7 is motions. There are 3 motions. I call upon Councillor Neil Sanders to read the first motion.
Thank you, Chair. This council notes that the UK has one of the lowest levels of statutory sick pay, SSP, in Europe. Moreover, the value of this payment has eroded and it now equates to around a fifth of median earnings. In April 2020, the SSP rate was £95.85 per week. According to the 2020 Vivaldi study, 77% of care home workers received SSP only, and a further 7% did not receive any sick pay coverage. Full sick pay is now widely accepted as an effective infection control measure, and there is growing evidence that the main reason for failure to self-isolate during this pandemic is the financial pressure caused by the loss of earnings due to being off sick. The GMB survey of nearly 1,000 social care workers found that 77% said they would be inclined to return to work before they were ready if they were on SSP, only on SSP, and 80% of respondents said that they would be forced to borrow off family and friends to make ends meet if they were on SSP only. Further, this council believes that over recent months, companies have taken advantage of the pandemic, have used fire and rehire to lower the terms and conditions of their workers. Some companies have also seen fit to propose changes in their policies on sick pay without proper consultation. This at a time when there is growing concern that the lack of proper support during periods of sickness or self-isolation is forcing workers to return to work before they should. This council believes that there needs to be a greater understanding of these concerns and resolves to write to Mims Davis, MP, Minister for Employment, and to the Right Honourable Stephen Timms, Chair of the Work and Pensions Select Committee, requesting that there are investigated in order to help defend and protect the employment rights and health of local people in Bassetlaw. Commend this motion to colleagues, Chair, and reserve the right to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Sanders. I call upon Councillor Marie Charlesworth to second the motion.
I second the motion and I reserve the right to speak. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Charlesworth. Are there any comments or observations? Councillor Joe White.
Thank you. While we very much support the cash injections by Rishi Sunak to keep the economy going and to try to protect jobs, there are significant concerns that there are people who have been simply forgotten, their rights undermined, and that they have been exploited. When people do not self-isolate because they don't have the financial backup through the low levels of SSP, we have a problem. This may explain why, despite the elaborate protocols that care homes set up to protect their residents, the virus still found its way in. There is no talk yet of an inquiry to how the UK responded, especially in the early days to the pandemic. And this must happen. These issues must be a part of that. And there needs to be a scrutiny of how the poor, who have got poorer, will be lifted out of poverty. If we want societal change in Bassetlaw, this is a key issue, a key priority, and one that needs a significant investment, both structurally and at the very local levels. And I very much support this motion.
Thank you. Are there any other members wishing to speak?
Simon Greaves.
Councillor Greaves.
Thank you, Chair. I speak in favour of this motion. During this crisis, we've seen the realities hit home of a care sector that has struggled, of the weaknesses that we have within our society, in that people that have been incredibly vulnerable, who are on low pay, without the support of full sick pay, have struggled significantly. And going into the future, I do not believe that it is sustainable as a nation that we continue to pay statutory sick pay at the level that we do. It is not a safety net. No one is able to actually live and support their families on statutory sick pay. We are completely out of kilter with other countries. who support workers that fall sick in a far better way. And I sincerely believe that during this crisis, it has exposed some fundamental weaknesses in the way that our society is structured, in the way that our workers are supported, and it exposes things quite heavily when during this period of time, some businesses have taken the decision to try and take an axe to terms and conditions and leave people worse off. I remember assurances being made by government that as we continue into the future, rights and terms and conditions of employment will be strengthened and we will be better off as a country. I do not see that. I see a constant erosion, and the examples given of the care sector and sick pay are just one example. There will be, I fear, more examples in the future of terms and conditions being eroded and the rights of working people in Bassetlaw being worse. There has to be a change. The government has to take notice. And I sincerely hope that through this motion, we'll be able to voice our concerns to the right people in order to help support that change that is needed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Greaves. Councillor Sushaw.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I fully support this motion, and I'd like to thank Councillor Sanders and Councillor Charlesworth for bringing it to our attention, and as in sending the letter and bringing it to full council. I think we should be absolutely defending and protecting the rights of the local people. Excuse me. And I think as a ward councillor, I've seen firsthand the devastation of the COVID-19 on individuals that are absolutely struggling with their finances. And I have to applaud and commend the district council teams for supporting individual residents the best they can under these unprecedented circumstances, knowing full well that their funds don't match their outgoings. And it's devastating for people. You know, I've sat with people at a distance talking around suicide, and it's really, really terrible. And I think the individuals that have to go to work and cannot stay at home because they absolutely can't feed their children and they're vulnerable to COVID is pretty horrific. And, you know, the chief exec talked about the lateral flow testing centres, and I think they're absolutely brilliant and we need to use them all the time. However, we know that there's people so vulnerable to not having any finances and not always taking the offer of support when they could sometimes take it because of, well, a multitude of reasons. I think this motion just reinforces that, and thank you for bringing it to the council.
Thank you, Councillor Shaw. Councillor Kevin Greaves.
Thank you, Chair. Very in support of this motion, and may I thank Neil Sanders and Maria Charlesworth for bringing this motion to the council. I mean, there is no wonder that we have had the highest death rates in Europe with people who cannot afford to be sick. The lowest paid in our society, these people. The rights of benefits being eroded, the rights of working rights being eroded and taken away. You've just got to look at the explosion, the literally explosion of food banks. People are ashamed in a lot of cases to go to these food banks. It's because of the lower wage, the lower people that's struggled, can't afford to be poorly, can't afford to be sick, and it's just being eroded by this government. And I'm fully in support of this motion. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Greaves. Councillor Josie Potts. Councillor Josie Potts, you may have your.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
The people going to the food bank is getting higher and higher, and it's not going to get any better. I think we've got a long road in front of us. You shouldn't have to go to a food bank to feed the kids. There's nurses going to food banks. They shouldn't have to go. I do believe that the budget from the government have not increased any pay for our angels that's worked damned hard through all this. And I fully support it. The wages are not good enough, what these people are getting, because they're on the breadline. I wonder where the next money's coming from to feed the families. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Potts. Councillor Ellen Richards.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to speak in support of this this motion. I think if the pandemic has taught us anything, it's taught us how interconnected we are as a society. None of us are immune, and we all work together, live together, rub along beside each other, cross spaces, share bus journeys. We need to prevent an escalation of this situation, and by ensuring that people can afford to stay at home and continue to feed their families, that is in their best interest, but it's in our best interest as well. So I am 100% in support of this. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Does Councillor Marie Charlesworth wish to speak?
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank all the councillors for supporting this. I fully support what's been said, and I think enough's been said. Thank you, councillors, for your support.
Thank you. Councillor Tyndall, Clayton Tyndall.
Hi, just to everybody's told the bits of the stories what they've experienced. Just to add to it, a local school gone from 20 school meals before the pandemic to over 50 on free school meals. That's a massive increase in circumstances changing, and it shows you that a lot of people are one paycheck away from falling on the knees. Businesses under this government are attacking our rights, and it is absolutely disgusting. And before the government go on the union bash, we are, as a nation, a union, and we're here to work for people and fight for our rights and to have a decent pay.
Thank you, Councillor Tyndall. Does Councillor Sanders wish to sum up?
Did you pick that money up, mate? No.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you to colleagues for your contributions. Over the period of the pandemic, it's been made clear to us all the value of the work carried out by care home staff. And there have been many instances during the year that's just gone that have shown the care and dedication these people have towards their residents. With sick pay being at the level it is, the GMB have highlighted that if a care worker goes off sick or has to self-isolate because of COVID, they could be as much as £250 a week worse off. In fact, Dido Harding told the committee of MPs that she believed that a large number of people, when contacted by tracers, were failing to self-isolate. The main reason given was the financial pressure caused by the loss of earnings due to being off work. So why are we putting care workers in a position where they have to choose between passing on the virus and feeding their families? Full sick pay is an effective infection control measure, and not just for COVID, because every year avoidable infection causes damage and loss in UK care homes, with 5% of care home residents passing every year with flu or pneumonia. Moving forwards, full sick pay provision is a necessary first step in the care sector. However, even in other areas of the economy, full sick pay forms a part of making sure employees are safe at work. After all, many local workers can't work from home, and if they catch COVID or have to self-isolate, then they have the same quandary as highlighted earlier. Is it just a coincidence that a large local firm decided that they wanted to change their policy on sick pay for the second time during this crisis, only for them to have to report that they have had an outbreak of COVID on their premises? I hope the government takes the opportunity to consider the growing body of evidence concerning full sick pay and infection control looking towards the future. After all, they have said that they want to enhance workers' rights, not downgrade them. But my fear is that there will be yet another U-turn. Look at the fire and rehire tactics used by business during this crisis, with no comment from the government. Moreover, perhaps the best indicator of the government's position on this subject is a pamphlet called Britannia Unchained, co-written by 4 very senior Tory ministers, which describes British workers as being amongst the worst idlers in the world, an indictment of their attitude on this issue. Thank you, Chair, and I commend again this motion to colleagues.
Thank you, Councillor Sanders. As no further members have indicated, we will move to the vote. Does anyone wish to vote against this? As no one has indicated to vote against this, it is carried. Right, before we move on to the second motion, everybody that has declared a pecuniary interest, do they have to leave the meeting? Will be shut out of the meeting, so we will just switch off production for about 2 minutes so that everybody can leave the meeting, and then the Vice Chair will take over, as I will be leaving the meeting myself as well. Thank you, everybody. Put your fresh chair there, then. I'll leave it ruler because it helps, you know. As you move down, you get ruler underneath it does help.
Ready to go, Dave? Yep. I call upon Councillor Simon Greaves to read the second motion. Councillor Simon Greaves.
Thank you, Chair. This council is concerned and alarmed by the proposals contained in the Health and Social Care White Paper, which, if enacted, will have profound implications for the future of the local NHS in Bassetlaw. Bassetlaw is part of the Doncaster and Bassetlaw Hospital Trust and the South Yorkshire and Bassetlaw Integrated Care System. The proposals contained in the White Paper remove Bassetlaw from South Yorkshire and place at risk current NHS services and pathways, and once again bring into question the future of Bassetlaw Hospital. Bassetlaw Council calls upon the government to ensure that the district remains within the South Yorkshire and Bassetlaw ICS and allow our local NHS to continue its excellent work in the district during this time of national crisis. Chair, and I reserve the right to speak later. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Reid. I now call upon Councillor Hazel-Brand to second the motion. Councillor Brand.
Thank you, Chair. I second the motion and reserve the right to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brand. Are there any comments or observations from members? Councillor White.
Thank you. The collective thinking here is, oh no, not again. The Labour Party has consistently campaigned alongside local residents to protect our NHS, keep Bassetlaw services local alongside its ambulance services, its A&E, and the ambition to reopen the children's ward at night time and weekends. So far, these have been victories for Bassetlaw people. But now, the powers that be, backed by Matthew Hancock, Secretary of State, and Notts County leader Kay Cutts, because this decision is a political one, want to transfer everything into Nottinghamshire, destroying our high quality and well-trodden health pathways into South Yorkshire. In Nottinghamshire, we have underfunding, debt, and lower quality healthcare outcomes. Why do we want to swap high star good for mediocre? Why do we want to put Bassetlaw Hospital at risk whilst patients will be made to traipse southwards to Kingsmill and to Nottingham City? I've already heard the cry of scaremongering, but I'm voicing the fears of senior health officials who are currently fighting an uphill battle for us behind the scenes. It concerns me that this is being manufactured in the midst of a pandemic, whilst people are looking the other way. This council does not accept mediocre or second rate. The needs of local people come first. The gloves are on, and we will fight for local control, high quality health provision, and access to the services that have been underpinned within Bassetlaw and South Yorkshire healthcare. The fight starts here, and we will take it to the people of Bassetlaw. I support this motion fundamentally.
Thank you very much, Councillor White. Councillor Alan Rose.
Chairman, thank you very much. I'm very strongly in support of this motion too. As Councillor White just said, here we go again. We've constantly, over the years, had to fight to protect and retain health services in Bassetlaw. I go back a long way. I remember when we marched through Retford to try and save Retford Hospital. I think it was Thatcher's government, horrible woman, but I think it was Thatcher's government that was trying to close that. I remember very well in more recent times the march we had from the Kilton showground to the town hall to save the paediatric unit in Bassetlaw Hospital. We're always having to fight to retain healthcare and protect it from Tory politicians who want to dismantle health provision in Bassetlaw. It is terrible that we're having to have this fight again. I'm not going to use words like mediocre and second rate. I don't know whether it's mediocre or second rate or not. What I do know is that people in Bassetlaw like to go to Bassetlaw Hospital. They're happy to go to Doncaster Hospital. And if they have to, they'll go to Sheffield. Why? Because the connectivity is good. It's easy for them. In recent weeks, I was sent for some treatment to Mexborough I'm from South Yorkshire, but I've never been to Bexbury in my life. It took me half an hour to get there. It was the easiest place in the world to find. It even took a nice little route past Conisbrough Castle, which was nice. So, you know, there is no issue. And the people of this district face north for the services that you can't get in Bassetlaw. We've said that many, many, many times. And they shouldn't be bound by fake boundaries around counties that actually bear no relation to their lives. To force people in Bassetlaw to go south to Mansfield, to Kings Mill Hospital, or even worse, all the way to Nottingham, to one of the hospitals there, is the wrong thing to do. If we're forcing poorly people to travel long distances in difficult circumstances where there's no direct bus route, it's the wrong thing to do. And we need, therefore, to be saying this loudly and clearly to any politician that is making this decision. I know that healthcare professionals are very much against this because they don't see it as being in the interests of patients in Bassetlaw. And in the end, it's patients that come first. Patients' lives and patients' welfare come before anything else as far as the NHS is concerned. And they've been magnificent in this past 12 months in the pandemic. And every one of us would agree with that and would applaud that. But here we have politicians meddling behind the scenes, trying to reconfigure the boundaries, and in doing so, putting patients at risk. This has to be opposed. We have to fight once again to retain our health services in our district. I'm very pleased to hear what Joe said and the mover of the motion too, Simon, about this, and it has my wholehearted support, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rhodes. Councillor John Shepherd.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to echo those comments. Like most people, myself and my family have got a lot to be grateful for Bassetlaw Hospital, the superb services they provide. And it is an excellent hospital trust. And I fear that this is going to move, as has been said, to a less successful one that's further away, less accessible. There are these successful pathways to South Yorkshire, and the boundaries, as Alan Rhodes said, are artificial. I think this is certainly something the Labour Party has fought over, has been referred to many times, such a vital battle. It's the wrong time to meddle with the health service, just as we're in the middle of this vaccine rollout, which has been superb in Bassetlaw. And it's a real test of loyalty for this MP in Bassetlaw. Is he going to support the government proposals, or is he going to do what's in the best interests of patients in Bassetlaw? I urge all councillors to support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Dave Presley, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Like Alan Rhodes, I support this motion. And I think we can remember in Retford campaigning against the closure of Retford. And we also, Alan, marched from Kilton Hospital to Victoria Hospital. And me and you spoke in the old market square there in Worktop against the closures in Worktop. Now, I've had a lot of treatment in the last few years, as you know that, because of the problems I've had. I had a stroke and then I had cancer. Now, if the cancer treatment goes to Nottingham, you have to go to Nottingham. You don't go to Mansfield, you go to Nottingham. Now we go to Sheffield and we go to Doncaster, which we all support. And I've had a brilliant treatment in all of them. And the transport has been brilliant because it's there. We have the shuttle bus to Doncaster. We have the transport to Sheffield, which is free for us as well. And my wife could go with me because she's my carer at that time. So we need to support this motion. And like John Shepherd, we need to get, the MP needs to get behind us on this. It's for the residents of Bassetlaw that we're fighting for on this one, and I will support this motion. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Presley. Councillor Neil Sanders, please.
Thanks, Chair, and I'd like to speak in support of this motion. Like other members, I can't actually understand why the government would bring this proposed reform forward at this time, because we're certainly not out of the woods with regard to this pandemic yet. But as far as I understand it, the proposals would actually get rid of the very primary care network that has been so successful in rolling out the COVID vaccine. So again, it beggars belief. But if I may just share a personal experience with colleagues, a while back, we took a family holiday when such things were allowed to Berwick-upon-Tweed. Unfortunately, during that holiday, my father-in-law took ill and required taking to accident and emergency. When I asked the ambulance driver where the hospital was in Berwick-upon-Tweed, he said, no, there's no hospital in Berwick-upon-Tweed. You have a choice. You can either travel 60 minutes down the road to Newcastle or 60 minutes in the other direction to Edinburgh. My fear is that these proposals would actually lead Worksop being in a similar position as Berwick was at that time. And with all the implications that means for people like David, who's had a stroke or has a heart attack, if we have no accident and emergency services in this town, then I fear for the safety and health of people, unfortunately, that find themselves in that position. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Sanders. Councillor Lee, please.
Thank you, Chair. I also support this motion. I've read the white paper and I can see that there are a number of key issues, really major issues, such as funding issues have been sidelined by the paper. It's looking for more control by the centre, and we've seen very clearly the success of centrally controlled programmes such as Track and Trace, which has been in stark contrast to the locally led programmes such as the COVID vaccine rollout. I've also seen a very large GP practice in the south be very quietly contracted out to an American company, and this is happening more and more. If we do not oppose this white paper, particularly on a local level here in Bassetlaw, and if we meekly go to Nottingham for our treatment, we will leave the Doncaster and Bassetlaw Hospital Trust, which is a much, much higher performing trust and much easier for the people of Bassetlaw to access. If we don't oppose this, it will be much worse for the people of Bassetlaw, and I support this motion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Lee. Councillor Sybil Fielding.
Thank you, Chair. I very much concur with what Councillor Lee has just said. I believe that and fully support this motion. To lose what we've got in Bassetlaw at the moment would be absolutely horrendous to the residents. We need services that are local and delivered in Bassetlaw. I fully accept that. If need be, the links to Sheffield and Doncaster are well tried, and even if you end up going to such places, your relatives can easily get to visit you. To end up in Nottingham at Queen's Meadow or wherever. It would be absolutely horrendous. As I say, I totally support this motion and oppose any services being taken from Bassetlaw.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fielding. Councillor Josie Potts, please.
Thank you. I 110% support this motion from Simon Greaves. I do know how a lot of parents, a lot of mums-to-be were frightened to death or having to travel to Doncaster to have the children. But I know now that maternities come back to Bassetlaw. Also, there was people that was scared because the children had to either go to Doncaster or Mexborough, no transport. We need the facilities in Bassetlaw. It's our hospital. I'd like to know where the Tories are on this 15 million that was secured for Bassetlaw Hospital in 2019. And I support this motion fully. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Potts. Councillor Sue Shaw, please.
Thank you, Chair. Well, Vice Chair. Doing a great job, by the way. I fully support this motion to write to the Health Secretary and thank Councillor Simon Greaves and Hazel Brand for bringing it tonight. There's no justification for the decision to hand command and control of the NHS services back to ministers. There's no justification for the boundary change and moving Bassetlaw CCG function to Nottinghamshire. In fact, in the white paper, there will be no TCG. It will be an integrated care authority, just arm's length for ministers at Whitehall. In the white paper, this will be implemented by 2022. That's within a year. That's by next April. Bassetlaw CCG has an outstanding performance, and the links to South Yorkshire go back 30 years plus. Residents look towards South Yorkshire and Bassetlaw for their services, and the integrated care system and links with Bassetlaw has been well embedded for all those years. It's hard to believe that this ministerial power lunge would improve health services. What the health service need after this pandemic is stability and time to allow service to recover and staff to recover. Get the waiting list down. Bassetlaw straddles both Nottinghamshire and South Yorkshire and Bassetlaw. The footprint is unique and has positive relationships. Bassetlaw has the main strong identity with South Yorkshire, and this needs to continue for Bassetlaw residents. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Shaw. Councillor Mike Quigley, please.
Thank you, Chair. Well, here we are again, aren't we? It's election time, isn't it? And I can well remember as I was a director of the Primary Care Trust some years ago when these sorts of stories were kicking around, and I knew for a fact that they weren't fact, but more based on fiction, because I knew what plans were afoot for the hospital. I've read the white paper as well, and I don't know what white paper other members have read, but there's no mention of Bassetlaw or moving Bassetlaw away from Doncaster in the white paper. If there is, you tell me what page it's on, because I certainly didn't see it. And as for trying to decry our local member of parliament, he stood up in the House and asked a question and actually got the Prime Minister to commit to £15 million going to Bassetlaw Hospital. And I know that the hospital have plans to expand and develop the accident and emergency facility at Bassetlaw. So I don't know where all this is coming from, but rest assured the people of Bassetlaw District General Hospital isn't closing, nor is the A&E. And as we now know, all the services that were moved temporarily while work was going on in the hospital have now moved back. So I just, with the wording of this motion, I find it very difficult to be able to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Quigley. Councillor Kevin Greaves, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, as Councillor White said, oh no, here we go again, which is quite true. And as Councillor Quigley has just announced, here we go again. They're in total denial. of what's happening to our Bassetlaw Hospital. It's only the Labour Party that's fought very hard for the people of Bassetlaw to keep this hospital. Had it been left to Councillor Quigley and his cohorts, it would have been closed a long time ago. And all facilities moved in other areas, all the funding taken to Kings Mill, which everyone knows has been a failing hospital for many years, and all the funding going there. It's 35 miles to the centre of Nottingham. Councillor Quigley might want to catch a bus there, or even catch a train there to go and have fun, to go and have treatment to Nottingham Hospital. Where have we got now? We've got 16 miles to Doncaster. And with that, we've got a free transport with it, a well-tested bus route. Sheffield, well-tested train route, well-tested bus route. But to Nottingham, it's a place on the end of a map that many people in Worksop and Bassetlaw don't resonate with. This is about people of Worksop's confidence, security, health, and should never be put in the hands of politicians. It should be left to the people who do know, not like the people of Councillor Quigley, but by hospital staff and clinicians who know what's best for Worksop. And the residents know what's best for them. So, Chairman, I fully support this motion. Thank you.
You're on mute. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Lavender. Just for clarity, members that have already spoken on the motion cannot speak again. So, are there any other members that have not already spoken that would like to do so? Please indicate now.
Councillor Dave Challoner.
Councillor Challoner, please, like to speak.
Thank you, Chair. Like we say, like what's been said, here we go again. How many times as a Labour group or a Labour administration of this district have we got to fight things for our constituents? Well, we've fought it times many because we all know Kay Cuts is retiring this year. It's not standing again as a county councillor, but Kay Cuts would love to leave a legacy. She tried it times many over the years about a unitary authority. So now she's gone working with MPs and other MPs throughout Nottinghamshire to create this total lunacy of a mess that will happen when people of Bassetlaw are quite happy working and going to hospitals within South Yorkshire within a shorter commute. So all this is about Kay Cuts leaving her legacy, which she wants to be remembered for. But this will be for totally the wrong reasons. So it's hurry up in May and go away, Kay. Thank you. And I will be supporting this motion.
Thank you very much, Councillor Chandler. Councillor David Pidwell, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. I haven't read the white paper, I have to confess that, but I have read the motion, and where the idea that Councillor Quigley got that this is about Bassetlaw Hospital closing isn't in the motion. This is about administering Bassetlaw from Nottingham as opposed to South Yorkshire. And therefore, it's a red herring that you are saying this is about closing the hospital, because it's not. And equally, it's a red herring to say this is an election in the air and we're having this fuss because of the election. We're having this fuss because your government chose to publish a white paper just before an election. That's how I read it.
So I will be supporting this motion tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Tidwell. Councillor Steve Scotthorne, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I agree with all my colleagues and what they're saying about this motion. Services are needed in Bassetlaw for Bassetlaw people, and we have got an amazing hospital on our doorstep, and we have got amazing services in Sheffield and in Doncaster. We've fought this fight before for services to stay in Doncaster, in Bassetlaw, and we'll carry on. We're just publishing our local plan to build houses that hopefully bringing people into the area. We've got business plans for the centre, the training facilities. All these people are going to need the needs of local services and local hospital, and this is why I'm supporting this motion. We need to stay where we are at the moment to get things sorted out here, rather than mess it all about and change things for the sake of changing, and a land grab by the Nottinghamshire hospitals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Scotthorne. As in that case, as no further members have indicated a wish to speak, we'll move on to the vote. Does anybody wish to vote against this motion?
Chair, I think, apologies for interjecting. I don't know whether Councillor Brand was about to indicate, but certainly I think I do have the opportunity or the right to sum up at the end. I just want to double check on that.
Yes, sorry, Councillor Greaves. If you'd like to summarise that, that'd be great. Sorry about that.
I think Councillor Brand, as the seconder, did indicate a right to speak, and she may wish to exercise that.
Yes, that's right. Sorry, I was just waiting for the chair to lead into giving me the opportunity to speak. I would like to speak, if I may. And before addressing this motion, just to remind members that I am a former employee of the Hospitals Trust, and I'm now a public governor elected by Hospital Trust members in Bassetlaw. I have a particular interest, therefore, in the future of Bassetlaw Hospital, even more so as a patient when I used the A&E department after breaking a leg in 2018, but I'll come back to that. It gives me great concern, therefore, to be presented with the prospect of the links between Bassetlaw Hospital, Doncaster Royal Infirmary and the Sheffield hospitals for specialist and tertiary care being broken up for the sake of administrative neatness. We are currently part of the South Yorkshire and Bassetlaw Integrated Care System, ICS for short. And just to pick up Councillor Quigley's note, and for others who've raised concerns about the future of Bassetlaw Hospital, I'm not concerned for the future of the hospital per se. I believe there's sufficient patient activity to guarantee the future of the hospital. And in 2019-20, there were 47,496 attendances at the A&E department. There were 87,205 outpatient attendances. There were 24,852 inpatient stays, and 1,461 babies were born. That's too much activity to move. But what I am concerned about is the loss of Bassetlaw Clinical Commissioning Group, which will be merged into a Nottingham and Nottinghamshire integrated care system, with the responsibility to commission or buy services on behalf of Bassetlaw patients. My fear is that there will be a tendency to draw Bassetlaw patients southwards, paying for treatment and so referring them to other Nottinghamshire hospitals. This will jeopardise the clinical and financial stability of Doncaster and Bassetlaw teaching hospitals, as Bassetlaw Hospital makes up around a third of the Trust's patient activity. For patients, it will mean devilish journeys. If I think back to my leg fracture, had it been more serious, I might have had to go from Bassetlaw Hospital to DRI. From where I live in Misterton, and this is true across the north of the district, Bassetlaw Hospital and DRI are roughly equidistant. But a journey to Nottingham and back would have required private transport, a driver, and taken a whole day. Any change in the referral pathways of patients would damage the existing clinical networks. Now, clinical and other staff work between Bassetlaw Hospital, DRI, Montague Hospital in Mexborough and Retford Hospital, even extending to Rotherham and Barnsley, so that a range of clinics can be held in each location. I can't imagine clinical staff from Nottingham wanting to hold clinics in Retford or Worksop. So I think we must resist any change in the clinical referral patterns for patients. With this reorganisation, the commissioners of our services would sit in Nottingham rather than Bassetlaw/Sheffield, and who knows who the lead commissioner would be at place level, or even if Bassetlaw would be considered a place as it is now. It is a pleasure to work with a leader to jointly bring this motion to council. Members must consider Bassetlaw Hospital remaining part of Doncaster and Bassetlaw Teaching Hospitals, a legal entity since the 1990s, and in doing so, remaining part of South Yorkshire and Bassetlaw ICS. And in so doing, we will recognise the numerous clinical networks that exist for the benefit of patients. And I trust that the Council will write to the Secretary of State for Health and Social Care in the strongest possible terms to convey this Council's views. I urge all members to support the motion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Brand. I'd like to extend my apologies to yourself and Councillor Greaves for the confusion earlier on. Councillor Greaves, if you'd now like to summarise, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, Bassetlaw has one of the best primary care networks in the country. That is a fact. Over many years, Bassetlaw's NHS has been aligned with South Yorkshire, and that is for good reason. We have all benefited from those networks, from those pathways. It works, and it is in the best interest of everyone that those links remain. The Health and Social Care Bill is probably the most important piece of legislation that you have never heard of, but I will summarise it in this way. Fundamentally, it moves, if enacted, and within the detail, it's very clear what the purpose is, to move powers and control for Bassetlaw's local primary care networks from the arrangement that we have right now and moves it directly into the control of the Nottinghamshire NHS. That is the implication. It makes it very clear in the paper what it is about and what it will do. This is not about supporting existing networks and reinforcing the good work that is underway. It is about shifting power and control. And we in Bassetlaw will be worse off, and local families will be worse off, if these proposals are enacted. This is a politically driven agenda, not one by health professionals. It is essential that these links continue and that we fight these proposals. I have no doubt whatsoever that out of the woodwork, some people will say this is scaremongering and that nothing will change and that we'll be able to work together. These people are wanting to mislead about the realities of these proposals, because, as has been outlined, the commissioning framework will move. It will move elsewhere, and I am hugely concerned about funding to support our local NHS, the NHS that has ensured the vaccine rollout runs smoothly and efficiently and that we ensure that all our vulnerable are protected with the vaccine, the powers and the money to do that work shifts. It goes elsewhere, and we will be worse for it. And I'm concerned about the health outcomes in Bassetlaw for local people as a result. I am fundamentally and resolutely opposed to these proposals. It is not in the interest of the area, but it is in the historical stated ambition of the political leadership of the county council. Because, as elected county councillors are aware, letters have been written in the past calling for reorganisation of the health geography of Nottinghamshire. This is a cynical land grab. It is a politically driven agenda, not one focused on health outcomes, which is actually should be the focus right now and in the future. So thank you, Chair, to everyone that has spoken in support of this motion. And I ask colleagues to give their support for a recorded vote on this item.
Thank you, Councillor Greaves.
Six, man.
Yeah, we've got it on now.
Got it.
I'd now like to hand over to the Chief Executive to take the recorded vote.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you alphabetically to declare your vote. Please indicate if you're for, against, or abstaining, and be prepared when your name is read out. Thank you very much. So starting off with Councillor Anderson.
For.
Councillor Bowker.
For.
Councillor Brand.
For.
Councillor Brett.
For.
Councillor Wild.
For.
Councillor Challoner.
For.
Councillor Charlesworth. Charlesworth. Councillor Charlesworth.
Councillor Charlesworth isn't in the meeting as she declared interest.
Thank you. Councillor Clarkson.
For.
Councillor Coulter.
Abstain.
Thank you. Councillor Duke.
For.
Councillor Eaton.
For.
Councillor Entwistle.
For.
Councillor Evans.
For.
Councillor Fielding.
For.
Councillor Freeman. Councillor Freeman.
Councillor Freeman, can you unmute your microphone, please?
Councillor Freeman.
For.
Thank you.
For.
It's
a for. For.
Thank you. Councillor Kevin Greaves.
For.
Councillor Simon Greaves.
For.
Councillor Izzard.
Abstain.
Thank you. Councillor Lee.
For.
Councillor Naish.
For.
Councillor Ogle.
Against the scaremongering, thank you.
Councillor Oxby.
For. Thank you.
Councillor Pidwell.
For.
Councillor Flevin.
For.
Councillor Pott.
Potts.
Yeah, you.
Oh, sorry, Neil. For.
Councillor Presley.
For.
Councillor Quigley.
Abstain.
Councillor Rhodes.
For.
Councillor Richards.
For.
Councillor Richardson.
For.
Councillor Sanders.
For.
Councillor Stanger.
For.
Councillor Schuler.
For.
Councillor Scotthorne.
For, Chair, thank you.
Councillor Shaw.
For.
Councillor Shepherd.
For.
Councillor Stofflet.
For.
Councillor Hannon Saville.
For.
Councillor Tyndall.
For.
Councillor Tomlinson.
Councillor Tomlinson's not present.
Thank you, James. Councillor Troop.
For.
Councillor Watson.
Councillor Watson declared an interest.
Thank you. Councillor White.
For.
Thank you. So the result of the recorded vote is 36 for, 1 against scaremongering and 3 abstentions. Thank you.
Now move on to agenda item, motion number 3. So for this, I call upon Councillor Sybil Fielding to read the third motion. Councillor Sybil Fielding.
Thank you. This council is greatly concerned by the proposed removal of specialist mental health services, wards B1 and B2, located at Bassetlaw Hospital by Nottinghamshire NHS Foundation Trust. These proposals amount to a further erosion of specialist clinical provision based in Bassetlaw, and another example of the relocation of services outside of the district. This council encourages everyone to take part in the present consultation exercise and calls upon Nottinghamshire NHS Foundation Trust to explore every option available to ensure that modern specialist provision remains based in the district with enhanced community-based mental health services. I move the motion and reserve the right to speak.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fielding. I now call upon Councillor David Presley to second the motion. Councillor Presley.
Yes. Second the motion, Chair, and I'll reserve the right to speak.
Thank you very much, Councillor Presley. Are there any comments or observations? Councillor Robin Carrington-Wild, please.
Thank you, Chair. Quite rightly, the effect on people's mental health of the pandemic and all of its consequences has become a major cause for concern. We are, as a society, now recognising the need to address mental health needs and issues, and the fact that the majority of people at some point in their lives will have a mental health need and issue. The non-appearance of election campaign cash promised to Bassetlaw Hospital, and now this latest move shows that this government does not recognise the benefits of local health treatment. It has come as a bit of a surprise considering the amount of money being thrown at Tory-held constituencies. But I fail to believe that Richmond, the Yorkshire constituency of Rishi Sunak, is really in greater need than Bassetlaw for additional funding. Unsurprisingly, I will be supporting this motion, and I don't care if somebody calls me a scaremonger.
Thank you very much, Councillor Carrington-Wild. Councillor Tony Eaton, please.
Thank you, Chair. In my role as a councillor, I'm also the Armed Forces champion, looking after veterans and the military personnel. I'm greatly concerned by the proposed removal of specialist mental services on B1 and B2. Lots of veterans have accessed these facilities over the last year or so, and bluntly, lives have been saved. Relocation of these services outside the district will cause more stress to these people and to civilians, and we could lose lives. I'm encouraging everyone to take part in this present consultation. Let's keep it local. We need keep it local for Bassetlaw people. I fully support this motion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Eaton. Councillor Sushaw, please.
Thank you, Chair. I fully support this motion. And as Tony said, I would urge everyone to fill in the conversation consultation, which finishes on the 18th of April. So there's lots of time to do that. I also, within the document that I've completed, I applaud the 3 community-based hubs, the specialist support service, and the investment in local mental health services. If we can stop people having inpatient services, then obviously invest to save is a really good way forward. However, to move the services to Mansfield, I totally disagree with. I think that more work needs to take place about where it could be located. As has been stated, we were promised by the Tory administration that a lot of money would go to Bassetlaw Hospital to refurbish the A&E, including B1 and B2 footprint, to make it into a village. That money is not been forthcoming. So therefore, we would urge our MP to shout for that money into Bassetlaw and to ensure that mental health services stay on the Bassetlaw footprint and not go to Mansfield. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Shaw. Councillor Hazelbrand, please.
Thank you. I support this motion. My concern is that the consultation document leaves more questions than it actually answers. And while B1 and B2 may need upgrading to national standards, there's little information given where the 3 hubs in Bassetlaw will be or the detail of what they will provide. I've asked the question, but so far I've had no answer. So I urge people to complete the consultation and make your views known. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Brand. Councillor Gary Clarkson, please.
Thank you, Chair. I totally support the motion. 2 reasons, really. And I mean, one is that, I mean, B1 is for older adults. You're moving older adults to Mansfield. Older adults' relatives are also older adults. How do they get from Bassetlaw, wherever it is, whether it's in the east of Bassetlaw workshop, over to Mansfield to visit their loved ones for support, to support them? At the moment, they could probably go, or without B1 closing, they could go on a daily basis if needed, or if they wanted to. Moving it to Mansfield makes it very difficult. The other reason is it's quite similar. As many colleagues know, I support veterans. Not in an official capacity, but over the 6 years I've been a councillor on Bassetlaw, almost 6 years, I've supported Retford Veterans Breakfast Club and lots of different veterans organisations. I've supported Workshop Veterans Breakfast Club as well. One situation that happened in 2017, obviously many veterans have PTSD and other mental health needs, conditions. One such veteran who used to live in Worksop was in great need. He was always becoming unwell, let's say. He needed a lot of support, and he was in B2. This veteran, as far as I'm concerned, was a hero. He was a bomb disposal expert. He was in lots of different countries where there were conflicts. And he was in such a situation whereby he couldn't come home when he was in the forces. He always volunteered to go back to the front, as it were, because he couldn't do with mundane life. And that caused his PTSD to get worse, his situation to become worse. So in June of 2017, well, probably about this time, first of all, in 2017, he was in B2. And the two veterans clubs, breakfast clubs in Retford and Worksop got together, and we decided that we were going to support this person. I'm not going to give his name or even his initials because some people may have known him. And we went and we had a breakfast in Bassett Law Hospital canteen. We arranged for the canteen to open on a Sunday morning. We didn't know whether this veteran was going to be able to come out of B2, whether he's going to be well enough or what. But what we did know that we was going to support him. And about 25 people went there from Retford, from around Bassett Law, Worksop. And this veteran did come down to have breakfast with us. It meant the world to him. Absolutely meant the world to him. And it really helped him. And over the next days and weeks, he gained a better semblance of his normal life. And he went home. Sad to say that on the 14th of June 2017, he had quite an episode. And he was injured. He fell down the stairs. And he's no longer with us. However, that's not the story. The story is that if it was Mansfield that we had to go to, if it was Kingsmill, we wouldn't have got those people to go there. We wouldn't have been able to get there in the great numbers. So for me, we need local. Okay, B1 and B2, they're not fit for purpose. They've been allowed to be not fit for purpose. We need investment. And that is the reason that I support.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clarkson. It's come to my attention that Councillor Mike Quigley has now declared an interest and has left the meeting. So the next speaker is Councillor Ankle Tate, please.
Yeah, thank you. This is a really challenging one for me. As far as I'm aware, this isn't a political decision. It's a NHS-led decision. On a previous motion, I do listen to what the opposition says. Somebody said, let's listen to the experts. My heart was saying, let's keep everything in Bassett Law. But as part of this consultation, I want to hear what the experts have to say regarding the treatments that are required for the people of Bassett Law and the best way to deliver them. I have, although not a medical expert, I have dealt with hundreds of cases of people set under the Mental Health Act. I'm aware of the challenges of accessing mental health services across the UK, especially children's young services, and I'd support anything that puts additional funding into them. But we ask for NHS reviews, we ask to listen to people. As far as I can see, this is all that we're asking at this stage, a consultation. The previous speaker accepted that the current hospital, this isn't scoring points, the current wards aren't suitable, so we need to be feeding that back in. And I do accept all the arguments about travel. What I would say is Worksop isn't particularly, I'm not saying Mansfield's any better, so I'm not making a political point, but Worksop's not particularly easy for parts of my constituency to get to for mental health services. So it isn't that necessarily straightforward thing. What I can say is, and I accept why the people proposing this motion might not agree to this. If we agree to take the second paragraph out, the second paragraph out, it's a motion that I could support much more easily. I want to engage in this. I want us all to engage in it. But let's hear what the experts have to say.
Thank you, Councillor Coulter. Councillor Jim Anderson, please.
Thank you, Chair. I speak in support of this motion in its form that it appears on the order paper. There's three indisputable facts here. The first one is that, as the previous speaker has just mentioned, the new facilities at Mansfield will be marvellous. In fact, there was an article in the Chad newspaper saying how marvellous they would be for the people of Mansfield, and that is indisputably true. The second indisputable point is that B1 and B2 are in need of improvement. And the third part of it is an indisputable fact that we as a council must fight and reject any proposal that leads to the transfer of some of our most vulnerable residents to locations away from Bassetlaw. It's a cruel and needless plan, and that will affect them and their family. We need improved facilities here in Bassetlaw, and I expect all members to support this motion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Anderson. Councillor Helen Richards, please.
Thank you, Chair. I have much to add after following on from Councillor Anderson. I think he hit the nail right on the head. The services that is available, the wards, the facilities that are available currently at Bassetlaw may not be up to standard, but that is no excuse for dragging our most vulnerable residents and their families a long, long way from home. I don't know anywhere in the district that it's easy to get to Mansfield from. And I think that at a time when these people are the most vulnerable, they need to be loved and embraced and upheld by their families and friends, just as in Councillor Gary Clarkson's account of that situation with the veterans. I will be supporting this motion in its entirety as it is presented this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Richards. Councillor Alan Rhodes, please.
Chairman, thank you. I'm just checking I'm not muted, I'm not. Chairman, thank you. And thank you to Councillors Fielding and Presley for bringing this motion, which I wholeheartedly agree with. I don't think there's any surprises there. I very much agree with the previous comments made by Councillors Richards and Anderson, and I'm also very grateful to Gary Clarkson for his very powerful contribution. And it says it all, really. I don't really care who's making this decision, whether it's politicians or healthcare professionals. I don't believe it's good for patients in Bassetlaw. And I say that as a representative of the people of Bassetlaw elected to represent their interests. I do not think that this proposal is in the interests of the people of Bassetlaw. Mental health is under a great deal of pressure at the moment. The requirements of mental health services have grown exponentially during the pandemic. Loneliness, isolation, people cut off from their friends and family, usually older people, and they are increasingly falling mentally ill and turning to mental health services for support and treatment. And in the middle of the pandemic, talking about moving these services away from our community to another community several miles away. And it doesn't matter that it's not many miles away in a car. Actually, not everybody is as fortunate as some of us are. And they have to rely on public transport. And that makes it very difficult for friends and family to stay in touch with people who are receiving treatment in Mansfield, mental health treatment in Mansfield. So it's the wrong decision. Again, with no disrespect to those health service management and experts who are making this decision. I don't think they're doing it with the interests of the Bassetlaw patients at heart. There may be other reasons. It may be cost saving. It may be that it makes their lives easier to manage the service. A number of other reasons. I say let's have some investment in healthcare services in Bassetlaw. That's what we need. There is a need in this community for healthcare provision, mental health provision, and we must ensure that as Bassetlaw, the representatives of Bassetlaw people, that we are fighting their corner for this provision to be kept in our community and not taken outside and elsewhere. So there is a consultation underway. I think it's very important that we all take part in that consultation and make our feelings known. And I hope to goodness that the people that are making the decisions within the NHS take cognizance of what's being said and listen and understand the concerns, the genuine concerns of Bassetlaw people and their elected representatives. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rhodes. Councillor Jones-Sanger, please.
Mr. Chairman, on paper, this looks great. New refurbished premises, that's wonderful. But in reality, it's the worst thing that could happen. How will people travel to Mansfield if they haven't a car? How will friends and loved ones visit? It's too far away. And I feel it's maybe the thin end of the wedge to run down our hospital, take a service away. So I support wholeheartedly this motion and ask everyone to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sanger. Councillor Josie Potts, please.
Councillor Potts, can you unmute your microphone, please?
Right. This is hard for me because I do know that quite a lot of people know that Bassetlaw may be losing the mental health services who have got loved ones that's in there. I do know that the pandemic has had a major effect on mental health, and I will admit that I've been one of them. I've been put on medication by my doctor because I lost my brother and I lost his wife 3 weeks later. At the end of last year, my husband lost 2 brothers and I've also lost a daughter. And recently, 2 weeks ago. And I think my daughter needed help, but we didn't realise at the time because she was in a controlling relationship. And I support this, that we keep this service in Bassetlaw for the people of Bassetlaw, because we don't know how people are going to feel when they know, well, whenever this pandemic's over, when people can go back to a normal life, we don't know when that's going to be. How are them people that's not been out since March last year are going to adapt to going out? We don't know. And I think it's going to be massive when we're able to live a normal life. I support it 100%.
Thank you very much, Councillor Potts, for a very personal tribute there, and so thank you very much for your input. We've been asked to have a short comfort break from Councillor Anderson, 5 minutes. I'll adjourn the meeting for 5 minutes and we'll reconvene at 8:30. Councillor Presley, we're going to resume the motion. Thank you. Now, Councillor Helen Tamblin-Saville, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Fielding, Councillor Presley, for bringing this. Just before I talk as well, can I just say thank you to Councillor Potts for bravely sharing her experiences. So thank you. This is something that's important to me. According to Mind, 1 in 4 people each year in England alone will experience some kind of mental health issue. And to put that into context of, 48 members of Bassetlaw District Council, 12 of us will experience some kind of issue this year, and that's more people than I've currently got on the screen in front of me. And I'm not ashamed to say that I'm one of those people. I have been diagnosed with depression in the past. I have been medicated. After the birth of my daughter, I suffered postnatal depression. I also suffered what was believed to be post-traumatic stress disorder, and I was in a dark place. Of those people who suffer mental health issues, it's a sad reality that many of those people will require inpatient services, and that for me it's really important. That's really important, and that is why I support this motion. I accept that B1 and B2 may not currently be up to scratch, and improvements in Mansfield, yes, that's a great thing, and I'm really pleased to hear that. But that doesn't mean that B1 and B2 don't need improving, and that doesn't mean that B1 and B2 shouldn't be staying here in Bassetlaw. Somebody requiring inpatient help, visits from friends and family are absolutely essential, not just for the patients, but also for their loved ones. People having to travel to Mansfield, which isn't that accessible on public transport in parts of Bassetlaw, certainly from Retford, it's very difficult. It's just going to add more stress, more anxiety at already a stressful time. I mentioned that statistic earlier of 1 in 4. During this COVID-19 pandemic, that statistic, I imagine, there could be far more people suffering. I mean, we're seeing it. Lots of people are struggling, during this time, and we need to have, the best mental health services that we have, and for that reason, I support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Campbell and Saville. Councillor Clayton Tyndall, please.
Thank you, Chair. One point, as long as them experts aren't Matt Hancock, funneling money to his pub landlord and dealing with a track and trace failure. But joking aside, this ain't no joke. I've lost 3 friends in the last two years to mental health. It's not nice. It's terrible. In this last year, I've not been able to go to that one friend's funeral because of COVID restrictions. I've also had 2 family members that have suffered with mental health this past year alone, and it's not nice to go through. And to be on the verge of losing yet another service that Bassetlaw Hospital has given us, it's terrible to even think about. I had a niece that used the children's ward, sadly not with us no more. If we'd have lost that children's ward service overnight, that would have been devastating for us. We also had to travel to Loughborough for her care, so she could have the respite care. The improvement that we got from that was when Bluebell Wood opened and the services come more local. And that is the big point that I'm making, is when we have services local, they improve us, they improve our mental health. And to lose that service, to even think of losing that service, would devastate our local area.
Thank you very much, Councillor Tyndall. Councillor Kevin Greaves, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, can I thank Councillor Fielding for bringing this forward? A massive issue at the moment with mental health. We even don't know, when we peel the covers back from this pandemic, what it's going to reveal. Nobody knows that yet. And the lack of funding of B1 and B2 is little excuse to sending people to Mansfield. It's funding that it requires. We're covering Worksop, Retford, Arworth, outlying villages, thousands of people. And who knows how many people's going to be in dire need of mental health care and treatment. So, yesterday we had Richard Sunak in his budget speech, and we're there. There was nothing, absolute nothing, for the care workers, for the nurses, and for funding of hospitals. Absolutely nothing. And here we are moving, or wanting to move, the B1 and B2 wards to Mansfield. Oh yeah, it's nice for Mansfield. It's good that they've got nice facilities, but that's what we want. That's what's needed in Bassetlaw. We need them facilities here, because we're covering quite the same number of people. Thank you, Chairman. I shall be supporting this motion.
Thank you very much, Councillor Greaves. As no other members have indicated a wish to speak, I now move on to Councillor Dave Presley to summarise. Councillor Presley.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sorry for the bit of between it. First of all, I think we need to know about Basildon Hospital. Basildon Hospital was started a long time ago, but Kilton Hospital, the foundations stone was laid in 1902, known as a poor law infirmary, and cost 18,300 to build. First phase of the new hospital opened in 1984. And what patients saying now is move to Mansfield would be devastating for Worksop. In the mental health patients in need of hospital, this would be moved to Mansfield, Sherwood Oaks, formerly St Andrews Hospital. That's for the B2 one. For the B1, the elderly patient with dementia would be moved to Millbrook Mental Health Unit at Mansfield's King's Mill, so not in the same place. There's no direct bus service to Mansfield. Visitors would have to go to travel to see people as well, and there's no link to that at the moment. So all mental services in Basildon in one hospital. That's the beauty of that. They're all in one hospital. B1 for the 65s and overs has 15 patients in 2 units, Blythe and Clumber. They've got community psychiatric nurses, dementia outreach nurses, intensive recovery intervention service, specialist services open 24 hours every day. B2 for the 18s to 65, again acute mental health ward, 24 hours per day, consultant, nursing and medical care, 5-day activity program, input from Mind, North Notts College, Notts Healthcare, and voluntary services. Again, 24 hours per day. We cannot use that. We cannot lose it in Basildon. We need it in Basildon Hospital. So you can see all Basildon provides a brilliant scheme service, and to let it go to Mansfield will be a severe loss to the residents and all the loss of employment as well in Basildon for other services as well. The consultation is needed, but it is late. It should have been before they were going to do it. When we knew it was going to happen, then we'd have put our inputs into that then. So we've got to support this in this motion. And people were mentioning about the children's ward. We still haven't got it back. They still have to go to Sheffield and Doncaster at night. They're not come back here. All that money that Boris promised has not come in and done that. We need these facilities in Basildon. B1 and B2 can be improved. And they've got the facilities to do it. We've got the expertise, we've got the nurses, we've got the doctors. Please support this motion. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Presley. And now summing up, Councillor Sybil Fielding, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I thank everybody for their contributions on this, and I sincerely hope everybody will support this motion. I absolutely oppose the transfer of services to Mansfield. And I will tell you, a few years ago, my father was admitted to Scunthorpe, living at Middleton, because there wasn't a cardiac bed at Bassetlaw at the time. And just 2 days later, my mother was admitted to B1. The challenges of visiting the pair of them, with one in Scunthorpe and one in Bassetlaw, was over a period of time, was challenging, to say the very least. What it would have been like if I'd have had one in Scunthorpe and the other in Mansfield doesn't even bear thinking about. Certainly, my experiences of what care my mother had then on B1 was absolutely second to none, and I simply don't understand how it could have come to a stage where it's not fit for purpose, and why there hasn't been further investment in services in Bassetlaw. I mean, COVID-19 has exposed us to see what challenges we've got to do with health and well-being, and we need local services now more than ever. In addition to this, Bassetlaw is a fast expanding area, and we need mental health services, not less, in a hard to get place. And it's hard not to be cynical, but it appears that our health services are being reduced to what is more a sort of a cottage hospital status. Moving resources are not going to help our veterans communities. I know through the voluntary work that I do with a Armed Forces charity, the myriad of ongoing issues that our veterans have, and certainly they deserve people who have served our country so well, and others. We need the services to remain in Bassetlaw. The consultation on this is underway, and I would urge everybody to speak out against these ill-conceived plans that dilute our much local services, and I would call upon everybody to support this motion.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fielding. In that case, as no further members have indicated a wish to speak, we'll now move on to the vote.
Can we have a recorded vote, Chairman?
Yeah. Could we have members indicate, please, if they support a recorded vote? 6, 8, 8.
Thank you. Okay, so please indicate clearly if you're voting for, against, or abstaining on the motion when your name is called out. First of all, Councillor Anderson.
For.
Councillor Bowker.
For.
Councillor Brand.
For.
Councillor Brett.
For.
Councillor Carrington-Wild.
For.
Councillor Challoner.
For.
Councillor Clarkson.
A massive 4.
You only have one. Councillor Coulthard.
Abstain.
Councillor Dukes.
For.
Councillor Eaton.
For.
Councillor Entwistle.
For.
Councillor Evans.
For.
Councillor Fielding.
For.
Councillor Freeman.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Greaves. Kevin Greaves.
For.
Councillor Simon Greaves.
For.
Councillor Izzard.
Abstain.
Councillor Lee.
For.
Councillor Naish.
For.
Councillor Ogle.
Abstain.
Councillor Oxby. Councillor Oxby.
Thank you. For.
Councillor Tidwell.
For.
Councillor Flevin.
For.
Councillor Pott.
For.
Councillor Presley.
For.
Councillor Rhodes.
For.
Councillor Richard,
4,
Councillor Richardson,
4,
Councillor Sanders,
4,
Councillor Sanger,
4,
Councillor Schuler,
4,
Councillor Scawthorne,
4,
Councillor Shaw,
4,
Councillor Shepherd,
4,
Councillor Stofflet,
4,
Councillor Tomlin Saville,
4,
Councillor Tyndall,
4,
Councillor Troop,
4,
Councillor White.
4.
The motion is carried, Chair, with 36 votes for and 3 abstentions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Executive. If members would like to indicate in the chat facility if they'd like to take a short comfort break, then please to do so now. If that's agreed, we have a break. Please can the caster pause the live streaming. Could we reconvene the meeting at 10 to 9, please, with 5 minutes comfort break?
Right, welcome back everybody. I know it's been quite lengthy at the moment, but we'll try and get through these referrals as quick as possible. There are 7 referrals. This is agenda item number 8, and the first referral is from Audit and Risk Scrutiny Committee on the 9th of February 2021. It's number 110C, Audit Annual Letter 2019-20 on pages 17 to 39. Are there any comments or observations on this referral? As no member has indicated they wish to speak, as indicated in recommendations on page 17, does anyone want to vote against this? That's carried, thank you. The second referral is from Audit and Risk Scrutiny Committee on the 9th of February 2021, minute number 110D, Mazars External Audit Strategy, Memorandum 2020-21, pages 41 to 79. Are there any comments or observations on this referral?
Yeah, Chair, Councillor Challoner.
Thank you, Councillor Challoner.
As Chair of the Audit Risk, I'd like to thank all the Audit Risk Committee for the work over the last year and attending the meetings of the Audit Risk Committee, and also for Davil and the financial team for the way that things have been implemented, sometimes at short notice, but we've come through with a fantastic audit, and it's all good down to the good work of the council. So thank you for the good work to everybody involved on the audit side.
Thank you, Councillor Challoner. Is there anybody else wishing to speak? In that case, no other members have indicated the recommendation is set out at page 41. Does anyone wish to vote against this? That's carried, thank you. The third referral is from Cabinet on the 11th of February 2021, minute number 237A, Property Asset Management Plan 2021-22. The key decision number 852 is on pages 81 to 96. Are there any comments or observations on this referral? In that case, no members have indicated. The recommendation is set out at page 81. Does anyone wish to vote against this? That's carried, thank you. The fourth referral is also from Cabinet on the 11th of February 2021, minute number 237B, Council Tax Reduction Scheme 2021-22. The key decision is outlined on pages 97 to 105. Are there any comments or observations on this referral? The recommendations are set out on page 97. Does anyone wish to vote against this? That's carried, thank you very much. The fifth referral is also from Cabinet, excuse me, on the 11th of February 2021. Minute number 237C, Treasury Management Policy and Strategy, 2021-2022 to 2023-24. Key decision number 854 on pages 107 to 156. Are there any comments or observations on this referral? As no member has indicated they wish to speak, the recommendations are set out on page 107. Does anyone wish to vote against this? That's carried. Thank you. The sixth referral is again from Cabinet on the 11th of February 2021, minute number 237D, General Fund Revenue Budget 2021-22 to 2025-26. Key decision number 855 on pages 157 to 179. Are there any comments or observations on this referral?
Yes, please, Chair.
Councillor Hazelbrand.
Yeah, thank you. For those who were at Cabinet when this was discussed, can probably guess what I'm going to say because I'm a bit like a stuck record on this. But I would like to thank those who manage the council's finances again for including paragraph 3.31, for including again the councillor community grants. Because the small amounts of money that I'm able to give and others are able to give to their community good causes can make the difference between organisations going under or not. So thank you very much once again.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Brand. As no other member has indicated they wish to speak, the recommendations is set out on page 157. Does anyone wish to vote against this? That's carried. Thank you. The final referral is also from Cabinet on the 11th of February 2021, minute number 237E, Capital Investment Strategy 2021-22 to 2025-26. The key decision number 856. This is on pages 181 to 211. Are there any comments or observations on this referral? As no members have indicated that they wish to speak, the recommendation is set out on page 181. Does anybody wish to vote against this? That's carried. Thank you. Agenda item number 9 is reports of the Chief Executive. Agenda item number 9A, pay policy statement, pages 213 to 228. Are there any comments or observations on this report? As no members have indicated, the recommendations are set out on page 215. Does anyone wish to vote against this? That is carried. Thank you very much. Agenda item 10, reports of Assistant Chief Executive. Agenda item number 10A, neighbourhood planning, application to designate a neighbourhood area and an associated neighbourhood forum. Retford Town Centre. Key decision number 864 on pages 229 to 263. I can see that we have one speaker wishing to speak, Councillor Gary Clarkson. Councillor Gary Clarkson.
Yes, just unmuting my mic. Thank you, Chair. Chair, thank you for allowing me to speak in support of item 10A. In doing so, I'd firstly like to thank Bassetlaw District Council officers Will Wilson and Charlotte Campbell for their guidance, their support and expertise in supporting Retford Business Forum to bring this plan to Council this evening. I'd also like to put in record my sincere thanks to Rick Brand, the Chair of Retford Business Forum and the Chair of the proposed Retford Town Centre Neighbourhood Planning Group, for his vision, his commitment and tenacity over a long period of time, working with Will and members of the Retford Business Forum and various groups across Retford, enabling us to be in a position to discuss this proposal right now. It's largely thanks to Will and Rick that the proposed Retford Town Centre Neighbourhood Planning Area and Neighbourhood Plan Forum is before us this evening. It also pleases me that so many residents of the town centre, business owners, representatives of businesses, in addition to leaders or members of organisations and charities within and across our town, have volunteered to be part of the planning forum. We have well in excess of the numbers that we need. At the very centre of the plan will be a commitment to enable the town centre of Retford to thrive as we come out of the current COVID situation, but more importantly to bring in increased investment and appropriate development to the town for many years into the future. Earlier, we had a question from a member asking what can the council or what is the council doing to enable our town centres to flourish as we come out of the current COVID position. Well, I was very young at the time, but I seem to remember that a very famous US president once said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Likewise, I would say, ask not what your council is doing for you or what it can do for you. Ask what can you do for your council and or your local community. Now, in this vein, I'm proud to be able to confirm, and colleagues will probably have already heard if they haven't forgotten because we're well over 2.5 hours into this meeting, that 4 Bassetlaw District Council elected members are actually active members in the Neighbourhood Planning Forum and or the Management Committee. Members will note that this commitment has certainly not been given for personal or political benefit, but out of a commitment to help improve our community and our town centre for the present and the future. I can confirm that several meetings of the 2 committees and the forum have been held since January this year. The next meeting of the Management Committee is held on Monday the 8th of March and our first AGM will be taking place in May. As a group, we're chomping at the bit and can't wait to get stuck into the various tasks over the many months and probably a couple of years. Some of these tasks will certainly test our mettle, but we know that our efforts and our commitment will eventually bring about extremely positive outcomes for our local community. In addition to the many groups and businesses within and across the town centre, and also to the many thousands of visitors who come to our amazing market town every year. Chair, I've spoken long enough, but to round up, I have great pleasure in urging all councillor colleagues to support the proposal, give the Retford Town Centre Neighbourhood Planning Forum the tools and the authority to work with our community, businesses and visitors to develop an ambitious neighbourhood plan that will provide the building blocks that will successfully develop our town centre for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clarkson. Can Councillor Sue Shaw, please?
Oh, and how do I follow that, Councillor Gary? That's exactly that. Very, very positive. And I also listed down Will and Charlotte and Rick Brand from the Retford Business Forum. It's absolutely brilliant and exciting to know that we're starting on this journey for Retford Town Centre, and the idea that post-COVID the regeneration Retford Town Centre is front and centre for everyone. So I'm not going to say much more because Gary has very articulated all the reasons why we should be very positive for this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Shaw. Councillor Mike Quigley.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I don't have a problem with this apart from a question, and that is why we haven't included the whole of Bridgegate. There are a couple of businesses outside of the area, and a couple of people have actually approached me asking why we haven't included the whole of Bridgegate up to the roundabout, which most people consider to be part of the town centre. And I was just wondering why we haven't. I know personally at least 2 businesses that are part of that area.
It is the recommendation of the group, I'm afraid. So as no other members have indicated they wish to speak, the recommendations are set out at pages 235. Does anyone wish to vote against this? That's carried. Councillor Quigley, I'm sure you could contact the committee and see if that could be looked into. I'm sure they will be open. Anything that's good for Retford and Bassetlaw is worth listening to, and they will take it on board, I'm sure. Thank you. Right, agenda item number 10B, adoption of Worksop Town Centre Master Plan. The key decision number 865 on pages 265 to 318. Are there any comments or observations? I believe Councillor John Shepherd wishes to speak.
Thank you, Chair. I welcome this Worksop Master Plan. It's innovative and exciting. It's a starting point for consultation. I particularly welcome the provision of a safe cycling route through the town centre. And, COVID has seen the lockdowns have seen an increase in cycling and walking. And I welcome this active travel solution, moving towards the creation of 15-minute communities. I'd like to see that for all our town centres. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Joe White.
Yes, I very much want to welcome the Worksop Master Plan, and we've already had a consultation process from December through to January. It had a large number of local businesses and people participating, and what it is a vision for the future, how we can strategically change, because our town centre, as people know, is suffering the consequences of not just COVID, but the internet shopping and larger shopping centres elsewhere. And it's for us as a local authority to intervene and make those changes. But it also has to be a partnership. It's about creating a board and involving local businesses so that we can work together. There's much more work to be done. This is about creating, setting up the high level proposal to have one, and the work that needs to be done will be started immediately after this. So a board needs to be created. We need to identify sites for development. We need to consult with the public, and we need to work together to build the best for Worksop.
Thank you, Councillor White. Councillor Alan Rhodes.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Thank you very much indeed. And I too welcome the Town Centre Master Plan for Worksop. It's good that we have a plan. It's good that it's ambitious and aspirational for the town, and it looks to the future. And I echo the thoughts and the words of both Joe White and John Shepherd. There are some parts of it that I'm sceptical about. For example, as people know, allowing traffic back onto Bridge Street. I'll continue to have those concerns, but that's just part of this plan. But overall, it's an ambitious, aspirational plan that is good for the town, good for the town centre, and takes us into the future. It looks forward beyond the pandemic and perhaps several years beyond where we are now, and shapes the town for the future. And so it should be welcomed. We should be enthusiastic about this plan, and we should be very supportive of it. And I'm very pleased to see it here tonight. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Councillor Dave Presley.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, again, I welcome the Worksop Town Master Plan, and I want to thank the officers and members who will be involved in it fully, because they've done really good and they've kept us informed all the way through. I know, like Alan, we've got some doubts about the Bridge Street, but it's a master plan. It's not just about Bridge Street. It's about the whole of works at town centre, and we need to look at that. And again, with the question about the COVID opening up, we are opening up. We're looking at works at town centre. We're looking at Retford's town centre, and that's what we've got to do. I think everybody's got to support this one. Like Retford, we've got to get forward and look forward for some funding from central government for works up town and for Retford town. There's some gone to Newark, there's some gone to Mansfield, there's some gone to Richmond, but none for poor little workshop. One of the people who's lost all the money is Worktop and Retford due to the closures of the pits and power stations that we're still not recovering from. And, as Callan said a long time ago, from the Margaret Thatcher era. So we've got to go forward as Worktop Town Centre, and I applaud that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Presley. Councillor Kevin Greaves.
Thank you, Chairman. Welcome this master plan. It's futuristic, it's forward thinking, it's innovative, and it's welcomed by
I'm sorry, Councillor Greaves, you seem to have frozen. We'll move on to Councillor Steve Scoffhorn, and I'll come back to you, Councillor Greaves, when you've reconnected. Thank you. Councillor Steve Scoffhorn.
Thank you, Chair. What a report to bring forward after the one we've just had about the Retford Town Centre. It just shows how much that this council is wanting to input and improve its town centres. I'm very pleased with the inclusion of the Sandhill area, Sandy Lane and that area. It just shows that this is not for businesses in Worksop, but it's also for people that use the town centre as a place to live. And I'm very encouraged by the new learning hub that is going to bring young people into the centre. Some positive young people that could have come in, and they're going to spend their money at dinner time. They'll spend their money in the bars and the cafes, and that too will help businesses in Worksop. I just think it shows how it's set out in the council plan that we set out to do things, and even though we don't get support of government when it comes down to money, maybe that's because we've got a weak voice in Parliament nowadays. But we have to take this forward, and we have to work for Basset Law people. I'm really encouraged with the master plan and the Retford neighbourhood plan. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Scoffhorn. Councillor Kevin Greaves, I believe you're back.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I am. I think the laptop's getting a bit tired. I mean, it's a futuristic and forward-thinking and innovative project, and I completely welcome this. And even by the town businesses that I've been talking to, I've got good connections with the town businesses. After all, I was in business for 36 years in town, so I've got good connections with local businesses, and they're very interested in this and are quite willing to partake. And the market traders, it's good news for the market traders, but unfortunately we have got a weak representative of an MP supporting us. For the money, he lets money go to Newark. He's got nothing to say about Worksop. And it's a shame in that respect, but fully, wholeheartedly support this. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Greaves. And as no other members have indicated they want to speak, the recommendations are set out at pages 273. Does anybody wish to vote against this? That's carried, and thank you very much. Agenda item 10C, neighbourhood planning, minor material modifications. to the Sutton Cumlound Neighbourhood Plan, pages 319 to 363. Are there any comments or observations on this report? As no member has indicated they wish to speak on this, the recommendations are set out at pages 324. Does anybody wish to vote against this? That's carried, thank you. Agenda item number 11 is the council tax resolution. Agenda item number 11A is council tax resolution and budget headlines 2021-22. Key decision number 857 on pages 365 to 72 in the issue. This report with appendices B to F added was reissued following confirmation of precept figures for Nottinghamshire County Council, the Nottinghamshire Police and Crime Commissioner and the Nottinghamshire Fire and Rescue Authority. Therefore, now continues in the revised council book to page 380. I call upon Councillor June Evans to present the budget proposals for 2021/22. Thank you, Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, everyone. Balancing the budget requires that Council considers its net expenditure against gross income from services. Despite a proactive approach over the years to reducing expenditure and increasing income, setting a balanced budget for 2021-22 has proved to be difficult. Nevertheless, I can report that Bassetlaw District Council has set a balanced budget for 21-22, the budget requirement being 15,710,000. I can also report that the local government financial settlement for Bassetlaw is a virtual rollover from 2021, so you will be familiar with much of the budget content. However, it is a one-year settlement only. So, although this budget does not come with lots of bells and whistles, it does come with a number of budget pressures, the first being savings targets. You all know about the delay to the fair funding review and business rates reform, hence there is no savings target for 21-22. Instead, that £1.17 million target has been rolled forward into 22-23, giving a new target for that year of 1.155 million, savings that we have to start addressing now. Any shortfall will impact on the identified savings targets and budget for the next 5 years. Reduced government funding continues to be an issue. In the last 10 years, Bassetlaw has suffered budget cuts of 7.1 million. The settlement funding assessment from central government consists of the business rates baseline and the revenue support grant, which a decade ago amounted to 2.189 million and represented 66% of our net budget. Now it is just 25%. For 21-22, the revenue support grant amounts to 229,000, whereas 16.9 million of retained business rates will be collected, plus a further 392,000 generated from growth. This takes into account the closure of a power station. Currently, council investments are negatively affected by the Bank of England low base rate, which stands at 0.1%. And there are some pressures that always have to be included in the budget, such as inflation, the 2% pay award, and council's contribution to the pension fund. The budget also includes 100,000 each for the corporate contingency and the legal contingency funds, plus a 25,000 health and safety contingency fund. However, council will maintain a minimum working balance of 1 million for the general revenue fund and 1.3 million for the housing revenue account. Added to these budget pressures is the uncertainty about future funding arrangements. We know the revenue support grant will disappear at the end of 21-22. We don't know how any future reforms will affect business rates, and we can only assume the new homes bonus will continue. So yes, there are a number of unknowns that potentially could expose this council to significant risk. I now want to talk about council tax, which in 21-22 will increase by £5 for Band D properties. You all know council tax is an important source of income to council. You may not know that a £5 increase in council tax had been assumed by government, and as such, the expected income it creates was already factored into the financial settlement. The £5 increase will raise 178,000 of much needed income. It would have been difficult to balance the budget without it, and the funding gap would have increased by 900,000 over the next 5 years. The government expects councils to increase their council tax by the maximum amount and build it into their core spending power. A nil increase in council tax would reduce our core spending power, and what's more, we would never catch up. It's noticeable that those councils that have a record of no increase in recent years are those that are having the most financial trouble now. The £5 increase equates to £183.48 a year for Band D properties, an increase of 10p a week. For Band A properties, which form 50.8% of all properties in Bassetlaw, the increase means a figure of £122.32 a year, an increase of 6p per week. Councils, this council, colleagues, has somebody got a mic on, please? Coughing.
That was Neil. I'm afraid we haven't turned our mic off.
Okay,
Sorry, Councillor.
Colleagues, this council, like many others, has felt the impact of the pandemic, both physically and financially. One outcome is that we have an overspend situation that we have to deal with. These are the facts. The general fund revenue budget has a forecast overspend of 863,000, of which 751,000 relates to COVID. There is a 42,000 overspend in the housing revenue account, but expenditure of 355,000 relates to COVID. This means that without the COVID costs, the HRA would have been underspent by 313,000. The government has given 3 types of grant. 1, those that we hand over directly to businesses and individuals, in our case, about 42 million. 2, those that are for specific purposes, such as reopening the high street, COVID marshals, and ensuring that safe distancing and protective measures are in place, in total 685,000. 3, those grants to compensate councils for lost income and increased costs. To date, we estimate our income losses plus our increased costs to be around 3.1 million. We have received 2.5 million from government, leaving a shortfall of about 550,000. To address this deficit created by costs associated with the pandemic, council will have to transfer money from reserves. Fellow councillors, I am not known for Mickey Mouse politics or for taking the facts out of context to deliberately give misinformation or mislead the public. I do believe in speaking the truth and in speaking it plainly. The fact is that we have received from government only 75% of our eligible income losses, and that's after the first 5% has been deducted. I can tell you that in distributing grants, this council has now paid 38.4 million in grant payments to over 2,300 businesses. We have also awarded over 13 million in business rates relief to all retail, leisure and hospitality businesses, and we have awarded almost 800,000 in hardship payments to people on benefits. However, the pandemic has affected payment of business rates, plus the number of appeals has increased. payment of council tax, accompanied by increased claims for the local council tax reduction scheme, and this has had a negative effect on the council tax base. We have seen increased movement towards universal credit, and there is still ongoing loss of income and increased expenditure for council because of the pandemic. Despite the pressures on the budget, council will still provide discretionary grants to the third sector. Councillor community grants remain unchanged. Councillors, tonight is not just about making you aware of the budget position and the pressures it is facing. Tonight is also about this council making effective use of the budget in order to continue supporting council services and the council plan. It's about making efficiencies, generating income and delivering value for money. It's also about innovation in response to need, and ultimately it's about quality services and the maximum support this council provides to local people and communities that need our help. You have seen in the last decade the continuing pressure caused by the reduction in government financial support. This has generated an ongoing programme of reviewing what we do, making savings where we can, and increasing income through ventures such as S80 and sharing accommodation. This programme will continue in 21-22, starting with planned efficiencies and value for money. Council-wide, we are adopting the Vanguard management model to develop efficiencies and release capacity. There are 6 project plans being put together, which include finance and planning. The model focuses first on the customer and then looks back at the processes that deliver the service, and very often this results in savings as tasks or processes that don't add anything of value are consequently discarded. Property will be subject to a separate review in response to the Gleeds report, and the finance department as a whole will be subject to a further staffing review. When it comes to generating income, S80, which is 100% owned by council, has, like so many other businesses, been affected by the uncertainty around COVID-19. Although the CCTV scheme has continued its trading activities and income has increased, cash flow has been adversely affected. A modest dividend is expected in 21-22. Other schemes in the pipeline will be developed as soon as the co-owned owned by council is starting its first development this month. Income is expected in 21-22, and 220,000 has been built into the budget. A key message for members is that increasing income is a must-do for this council. We can't rely on ever-decreasing government funding. We have to become more commercially minded, more financially independent. Let's talk about innovation. This year, as part of the Business Accelerator programme, there are a number of projects in the budget framework. One example is dealing with the green agenda and reducing our carbon footprint, a high priority for council. Since the appointment of the Climate Change Officer, projects being developed are decarbonisation of council buildings, solar panels on both Queen's Building and Carlton Forest, charging points for electric vehicles, and early discussion on electrification of the fleet. Plus, this council, in partnership with the University of Derby and the Rotherham and North Notts group of colleges, has been awarded £3.5 million by D2N2 to develop a skills hub in Worksop. This will bring back into use a vacant building on the High Street, create 50 jobs and support learning that will lead to future careers for residents. This success is due entirely to our brilliant growth and enterprise team, supported by senior managers and the portfolio holder for regeneration. Work starts in April. Furthermore, the conversion of another empty high street property, Middletons, will be completed in year, offering space for 26 offices and a cafe. Colleagues, quality services matter, but only if they improve the quality of life for local people. This is always the aim of this administration. Just look at what's happening in housing. The total of the capital programme is 23 million more than A1's over the 5-year period. We have a housing programme that focuses on existing stock improvements and delivering new homes. A £3 million refurbishment is planned for Larwood House and then for all our independent living schemes. 120 modern methods of construction homes will be built at Radford Street, one of the largest schemes in the country and a first for Bassetlaw, plus a further 60 new homes over the 5-year period through new build and acquisitions. And we're taking a holistic approach to regenerating our estates, starting at Carlton. Since bringing the housing stock back in-house, we are making efficiency savings by reviewing our external contracts and our in-house processes. This will allow for additional investment in the assets and the services to tenants. Yes, for 21-22 there is a modest rent increase of 1.5%, but the message is, councillors, that this is a programme that will deliver value for money quality homes that people will want to live in. In stark contrast to the self-contained account of the HRA with the ability to borrow to invest within its financial framework is this year's General Fund Capital Programme. The lack of capital receipts is quite frankly lamentable. Inevitably, the low level of capital receipts slows down the rate of progress. This is frustrating because there is so much we want to do. This and the delay to the capital programme caused by the pandemic is why no new capital bids will be considered for 21-22. Chair, I believe members will agree this last year has been unprecedented in the reliance communities have had to place on public services, and Bassetlaw Council has risen to that challenge by providing quality support to people in need. At times like these, the quality of what we do has been tested and we have delivered. Since the coronavirus restrictions were put in place at the end of March, a partnership between this council, BCVS and Bassetlaw Clinical Commissioning Group has been providing essential support to local vulnerable people. This includes delivering food parcels to those most in need, delivering prescriptions, providing help with shopping and making weekly welfare calls to ensure that people are safe and well. Councillors and staff have given their time as volunteers, as well as now helping out with the vaccination programme. To date, 3,500 food parcels have been delivered, 250 medical deliveries and over 6,000 welfare calls made. And this council donated 25,000 to the food bank, which we continue to support. Officers and staff across all departments have done an amazing job under difficult circumstances, meeting new demands on top of their normal duties, and we owe them our thanks and appreciation. And let's not forget the work of the Housing Needs team, who have been awarded 182,000 Next Steps funding. This, plus 100,000 match funding from Council, will enable the provision of a new facility with 6 individual units for possibly the most vulnerable people in society, rough sleepers. The aim, with input from support workers, is integration back into society. Chair, if this last year's events don't underline the value of public services, and especially those provided at district level, then I, like many others, just don't know what will. So in conclusion, this council has come a long way in the last 8 years, despite the continued reduced financial support from government. As a council, we are recognised for delivering quality services supported by a strong financial platform, without which we could not have established such a good local reputation. But setting a balanced budget for 21-22 has been made particularly difficult because of the delayed financial reforms by government and uncertainty about our future financial arrangements, a situation that does not lend itself to robust financial forward planning. The situation has been further compounded by the negative financial impact of the pandemic and the failed promise by government to fully reimburse councils. This council has benefited from the knowledge, measured decision making and at times the courage shown by Mr David Hill and the finance team. I thank him for his expertise and on occasions for his patience. I am confident this council will continue to innovate, continue to improve the quality of life of Bassetlaw people and continue to provide value for money, quality services that we and local people can be proud of. I therefore, Chair, in time-honoured tradition, commend this set of budget proposals to Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Evan. That was very good. I call upon Councillor Simon Greaves to second these proposals.
Chair, very pleased to second the motion and proposals and reserve the right to speak.
Thank you. I call upon Hazel Brand to make any comment. No?
No, don't think my hand's up, Chair.
Right, that's fine. I call upon Councillor Quigley to make any comments. Thank you. And then Councillor Scawthorne.
Thank you, Chair. I'll talk to you. Yeah, Chair. Firstly, can I thank Councillor Evans for kind words for the housing needs.
We'll move on to Councillor Pidwell, and we'll come back to you, Councillor Scawthorne, if you want to reconnect. Oh, are you back? Right, we'll move to Councillor Pidwell. We'll move to Councillor Pidwell, and then we'll come back to you, Councillor Scawthorne.
Okay, thank you, Chair. In which case can I be the first to congratulate Councillor Evans for an excellent speech, and can I thank her and Dave Hill and her team for the work that she's done over the last year. It's a travesty that pairing can't operate during a time of more stable local authority finance. As she said, over £7 million has been knocked off by the government, which I understand is only like 60% of their funding over 10 years. That, coupled with the crippling cuts of Ian Duncan Smith to benefits, has disproportionately affected the people of Bassetlaw and communities like us all over the country. And that matters because when Sunak and Johnson talk about levelling up the country, in fact, they've got to repair 10 years of their own damage. They were ministers, they were MPs, they were in the cabinet, and they should take responsibility for the poor state of some northern communities. But I don't want to talk about that, but I want to talk about the local Conservative response. I was going to ask, I wonder if we will see an alternative budget tonight, but by the sounds of it, no. Of course, we didn't get one last year, but they did give us one in 2019, didn't they? Don't know if anyone else has got a copy of their election manifesto, but just to read out some of the highlights from that. They proposed a budget in their manifesto. They promised to freeze council tax. They promised to build 250 council houses a year. They promised to invest £56 million in the town centres of Retford and Worksop. £56 million. And they're also going to cut waste and bureaucracy in the council. Now, I stand to be corrected, but I can't think of one instance during the last 2 years of 20 council meetings where they have raised any of these issues in their speeches or motions. And again, I stand to be corrected, but I don't believe they have raised any of these issues in the 18 cabinet meetings since the last election. Indeed, if the minutes of cabinet meetings are to be believed, they only bother to attend a third of those 18 in 2 years. My final point is, well, why does this matter? It matters because I believe in the adage, past behaviour as a predictor of future behaviour. Therefore, if the 4 Conservatives don't own or campaign for the manifesto they were elected on in 2019, what confidence can the people of Bassetlaw have now, as Councillor John Ogle and Councillor Mike Quigley stand before the electorate for the county councils on a manifesto? Can they be believed? Can they be trusted to deliver? Past behaviour suggests not. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Bidwell. Councillor Steve Scofford, are we back up and running, my darling?
Thank you, Chair. I hope so. I didn't realise they'd gone. I think it was, I got nobbled. I think I got nobbled by Councillor Bidwell, to tell you the truth, because he stole a lot of my thunder.
I believe he did, yes, I do.
Yeah. All that, I'm not going to keep people on. All I'd like to say now, it's not a surprise. Again, thanks, Julian, and everything. It's not a surprise that the housing revenue account is in a good place, because it's not influenced by outside things. It's down to the foresight of the chief executive and the people in the housing services that it is in the place where it is now. The foresight of the new head of housing, who has brought her own unique power into the decisions that are being made for the housing needs and the housing services. It's just a shame that the capital fund cannot again be ring fenced, and there is a lot of outside influences that attack this fund. All I can say, government, give us the money and we will deliver Bassetlaw for the people of Bassetlaw. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Scofford. Councillor Kevin Dukes.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'd just like to praise the finance team under very difficult circumstances for achieving yet again a balanced budget. It is very difficult as the leader often says, to plait the fog of government finance, and they do it with great skill and great commitment. I'd like to thank Councillor Evans for her unswerving commitment to making sure that we all toe the line, and I would like to say that listening to this budget compared to the papering over performance of yesterday is an absolute joy. Where were the support and innovations that we seen in our budget in yesterday's budget? Where was the support for teachers, nurses? Where was the support for those people that are struggling? And yet again, the people most hit by this budget will be those low-income working families. They are at the bottom of every list with this government. They are the top of our list. They are the people that we look for. They are the people that we support, and we will continue to do that both at Bassetlaw and in the county. So thank you for everybody here for the budget that we have.
Thank you, Councillor Duke. Councillor Julie Lee.
Thanks, Chair. I actually am quite impressed by the budget report produced by Councillor Evans and the whole team at Finance, because it has been a difficult year on top of the previous 10 very difficult years. I was thinking that scrutiny, honesty and due process are of course very important, and Councillor Evans and the finance team demonstrate that. And I did wonder why a member was asking a question about that earlier today. And then I recalled the lack of scrutiny, honesty and due process demonstrated by the Tory government. And I understood why some people might think that this kind of illegal behaviour is common. So for Bassetlaw, despite a reduction of £7 million in our budget over the last 10 years, which I think is 62% of the budget that we had 10 years ago, less, I am really pleased and impressed that our council, unlike many others across the country who are struggling even more because they lack the financial ability of many members of our finance team, we remain both solvent and looking to develop, innovate and invest into Bassetlaw.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Evans and the finance team.
Thank you, Councillor Lee. Councillor Mike Quigley, you wish to speak?
Just in response to a comment, Chair, I'll paraphrase Councillor Aaron Rhodes, who made a statement at the County Council meeting when he said it's not the responsibility of the opposition to present an alternative budget, and he will be abstaining. So I shall follow his lead and do exactly the same.
Thank you, Councillor Quigley. Councillor Simon Greaves.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. This is a council that is committed to economic growth, jobs, skills, regeneration and inward investment. We're pro-business, pro-innovation. We believe in modernisation and being prudent with the public purse. We believe in job security and a real living wage and good local public services. And we don't sit our hands in securing those services in the district. We fight for them. We believe in supporting the vulnerable and helping people to be better able to help themselves. It's no coincidence that during this pandemic, we've seen brownfield sites across the district come forward for regeneration and get built out at pace. And it's no coincidence that this council, during this period, shifted heaven and earth to support local people and business during this crisis. That is what we do. I remember the last Conservative administration during which planning permission was refused for the Vesuvius site in Worksop. It was mothballed for years and years. And now that site is open for business and is due to be the home of a new fire station for the area. I remember the last Conservative administration turned down the chance to buy the Mansfield hosiery site, and the site remained empty for more than a decade. Not anymore. I remember the years where we fought red tape from government to get funding to make sure the Furbeck site could be brought forward, and thank God now it is. I also remember, Chair, under the last Conservative administration, when £8 million of public funding went missing in the Icelandic bank fiasco, and that has been resolved. I also remember the last Conservative budget at this council, which was based upon redundancies and job losses, and the staff were never even told. Now, people are paid a real living wage. We've seen an incredible amount of investment into the district, and this will continue at pace over the next few years. When the pandemic hit, we stepped up, rolled up our sleeves, and got on with the job, supporting local people, business, and the vulnerable. We worked with the community hand in hand. And as we look forward from here, as we move out of this crisis, we are more confident than ever. Thousands of new jobs are going to be created due to the work that we have put in working with business. More council houses are going to be built. Thousands of council houses are going to be improved. There's going to be more investment in our parks and spaces, public spaces. And there will be more investment to support and transform our high streets. Chair, this authority will not stop our programme of investment, modernisation and improvement. And we have the carbon reduction agenda firmly in our sights. Chair, we put in the hard work to bring sites forward and to make change happen. And we do that living within our means, despite the cuts from government and despite the obstacles put in our way. What we need is government to genuinely work with us, not with a rigged hand, not shifting money elsewhere, and work with us genuinely to improve this area for the better. That is what people want to see. That's what we want to see happen. And that is the way in which we need to move forwards. Now, the challenge is this. Is the government going to give us that genuine opportunity? Or are they going to use a sleight of hand, as they always have done, I'm afraid? That means that money is placed elsewhere. Because we all know the way the Treasury works and the way that the formula is stacked against us. That's why Furbeck took so long. So, Chair, there's been an incredible amount of work into this budget and over the years to move the authority forward and to move the district forward. And I'm looking forward to the next phase as we move through from this pandemic to transform this district for the better and bring more opportunity, more skills, more jobs, and more entrepreneurship to this district. Thank you, Chair.
Move on. Just want to check in with the Chief Executive, read the Constitution of the finish time for the meeting. One moment, please. Bear with us.
Okay. I think, Chair, given the amount of time that's been spent on the motions, it would be helpful just to extend the meeting till 10:30, please, to make sure that we are within the bounds of the Constitution. This is required by a show of hands, if you wouldn't mind, by the majority of members attending the meeting. So if you could possibly raise your hands on your computer screens now, that'd be very helpful, thank you, and we'll extend the meeting till 10:30. Is there an update?
14 was the maximum we got to. 15, 16. We got it. They are raising hands, but they're not all doing it. 20.
21, 22. Yeah. Is that enough now?
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. You can say that we've got the people who wanted to speak as well.
Thank you, Chair. That's very helpful. The meeting is extended to a maximum of 10:30 now. Thank you.
And if the speakers can keep it to a minimum of 3 minutes, please. Councillor Sue Shaw.
Yes, I just wanted to say, I know it's really late, but it was last but no means least in that presentation and report, and massive place on record, massive thanks to Councillor Evans and to Dave Hill and the Chief Exec for everything they've done. I'm not going to repeat all the things that have been articulated because it's, you know, it's been said, but I just wanted to place on record my thanks too. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Shaw. Councillor Alan Rhodes.
Thank you very much, Chair. I will be brief, but I'm flattered actually that Councillor Quigley's following my lead at long last. It's a pity he's not followed my lead previously instead of Councillor Cuts' lead. Every time he did, he put his hand up for cuts, closures and redundancies ever since he's been a member of the county council. He's right, of course, it isn't the job of opposition to put amendments or alternative budgets if they wish not to. I will remind them that we put an amendment to the county council budget last year. We wanted to put back some of the monies that the Tories had taken away from vulnerable and disabled adults. Sadly, he didn't follow my lead that day either, and he voted against that along with the rest of his Tory chums. So, seriously, Chairman, I mean, it's very, very difficult to balance a budget in this climate, and I think full thanks and appreciation should go to the finance team and to Councillor Evans for offering the political lead that she offers to that team, and for her speech tonight. A very good speech, and I do think that it fills us with hope. You know, we have year-on-year settlements. There's no certainty about what the government settlement will be from one year to the next. It's been a terrifically challenging year for every council. We're now entering into the 11th year of austerity with no sign of it getting any easier for local governments, and yet still we're able to rise to those challenges and to continue to deliver high quality, affordable services to the people who we're here to serve. And I think that we should celebrate that. I think it is an achievement, and it's something that local government does, frankly, better than any other public service. And we've been cut further than any other public service, and we still survive, we still rise to the challenge, and we still deliver. I think that's a fantastic achievement. But how long can it go on? I don't know. Local government's been cut to the bone and beyond by the Conservatives since they came into power in 2010. They continue to make mistake after mistake with their national finances, and it's local government and other public sector organisations that have to pay for those mistakes. It's tragic, really. It's tragic because it's the people of our community and communities like ours who suffer and pay for the mistakes that the Conservatives nationally and in some cases locally make. So congratulations, June, for an excellent speech. Thank you. I don't know who's interfering with what I'm saying, but congratulations, June, for an excellent speech. Congratulations for the political lead that you give on finance to this council, and congratulations to the finance team for balancing a budget in the most difficult of circumstances. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Rowe. Councillor Robin Carrington-Wilde, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Well, in the battle of the budgets this week, June Evans wins for being realistic in dealing with the current financial situation while being let down once again by central government. But she still manages time to rightly champion the officers and the people of Bassetlaw for their resilience in hard times and for being positive about the future. I'm amazed that the local Conservatives don't have anything to say, because on social media they're tripping over themselves to criticise the new skills hub, which is amazing, really, because when it was first announced, the newly elected MP claimed it was all down to him. Well, it's about time there was some realism in the local Tories, that they actually champion the people of Bassetlaw who they claim to represent and want to lead, and stop just being critical about everything we're trying to do.
Thank you, Councillor Robin Carrington-Wilde. Councillor Dean Brett. Councillor Dean Brett.
Could you unmute your microphone, please, Councillor Brett?
I'm pressing it, just want to obey. I'd just like to say I fully am sorry, there's a delay when I press it. I didn't actually put my hand up to speak. I did it for the voting earlier. Sorry.
That's no problem. Councillor Brett, no worries whatsoever. Thank you anyway. Myself, I'd like to thank June and all the finance team for all their hard work as well. It is precedented times and difficult times, and I know that they'll have worked very hard to make sure that Bassetlaw keeps being the leader of most counties and most districts. Thank you very much. And seeing as there is no more speakers, can the proposer sum up? Councillor Evans.
I believe Councillor Potts wanted to speak.
Oh, it's not come up. Sorry, Councillor Potts. Do apologise. It's not come up on my screen.
I'll sort you out later.
Thank you.
I would like to say thank you to June Evans, Michael, and the rest of them, and Neil Taylor. An excellent job again, June. I really enjoy your speeches. I honestly don't know how the Tories can sleep at night. You know, what can they say that they've done? Nothing. We've delivered and still delivering to Bassetlaw. What can they say outside of what we've done? Nothing. And I'm really ashamed, but I'm so proud to be a Labour councillor and work with all the Labour councillors too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Potts. Apologies again, but it didn't come up on my screen that you'd not noted you wish to speak. So again, Councillor Evans, would you like to sum up, please?
Thank you, Chair. I have listened carefully to the comments from members. I believe everyone here tonight understands the financial pressure Council is facing and the unique circumstances that have led to the current situation. The number of unknowns about government future funding reforms has created a high degree of uncertainty for all councils. It is therefore a high priority that the budget seeks to mitigate known risks and address budget pressures where possible. It is my belief that we have little room for manoeuvre and that there are no feasible alternatives to the budget proposals presented tonight. Proposals that acknowledge and react to the financial challenges we face. Proposals that I believe will steer us in the right direction. Therefore, Chair, this is the budget that I commend to this Council. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. The recommendations are set out in the Council Tax Resolution Budget Headlines 2021-22 report. Are there any comments or observations? Right, we will now do the vote and it will be a recorded vote.
So in accordance with the Local Authorities Standing Orders England Amendment Regulations 2014, a recorded vote will be taken on the budget. So please indicate if you want to vote for, oppose, against the budget or abstaining. Councillor Anderson.
For.
Councillor Boker. Councillor Brand.
For.
Councillor Brett.
For.
Councillor Carrington-Wild.
For.
Councillor Challoner.
For.
Councillor Charlesworth. Councillor Charlesworth. Councillor Clarkson.
For.
Councillor Coulter.
Abstain.
Oh, pathetic.
Councillor Jukes.
For.
Councillor Eaton.
For.
Councillor Entwistle.
For.
Councillor Evans.
For.
Councillor Fielding.
For.
Councillor Freeman.
For.
Councillor Kevin Greaves.
For.
Councillor Simon Greaves.
For.
Councillor Izzard.
Councillor Izzard has left the meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Lee.
4.
Councillor Merriweather.
4.
Councillor Naish.
4.
Councillor Ogle.
Abstain.
Councillor Oxby.
Thank you. 4.
Councillor Bidwell.
4.
Councillor Flevin.
4.
Councillor Pop.
A big 4.
Councillor Presley.
4.
Councillor Quigley.
Abstain.
Councillor Rhodes.
4.
Councillor Richards.
4.
Councillor Richardson.
4.
Councillor Sanders.
4.
Councillor Stanger.
4.
Councillor Schuler.
4.
Councillor Scotthorne.
4.
Councillor Shaw.
4.
Councillor Shepherd.
4.
Councillor Stoffler.
4.
Councillor Cameron Saville.
Abstain.
Councillor Tyndall.
4.
Councillor Tomlinson. Councillor Tomlinson. Right. Councillor Troop.
4.
Councillor Watson.
4.
Councillor White.
4.
Yeah.
No, sorry, I had problems with my mic. Councillor Charlesworth is 4.
Councillor Charlesworth is 4. Yeah, okay.
Steve Scotland's in room.
So, sorry, Chair, I did say 4.
So the budget is passed, Chair, with a vote of 38 votes for and 4 abstentions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The agenda item number 12 is any other business which the chairman considers to be urgent. There is no other urgent business, but before I close the meeting, I thank you for your commitment and patience during this lengthy meeting. Stay safe, everyone, and good night.
Good night.